Welcome back, everyone, to the Paladins Premier League. My name's Gormizer, and we have, well, a nice triple-header day for you. The third set coming up right here, and I can't think of one that honestly could follow up another 7-game set better than one that, well, went 7 games the last time they played each other. That's going to be interesting. And of course, I'm joined by absolutely unbiased, totally not leaning in either direction for either of these teams. Doesn't happen to be wearing the jersey of one Kresnik.
No, I mean, Hero's my roommate, so I get why you would think I would have a Renegades bias. So,
I forgot that. You're wearing the SSG jersey. Hero's your roommate. Your heart's going to tear in half during this set.
I was at the Airbnb with them for HRX, so I have a link to both of these teams. So no matter what happens, this is going to be an interesting one from my perspective, but I think it should be a good game overall. Honestly, both these teams, I think, have something to prove SSG with their performance earlier. They had a lot to look at, and I want to see how they improve. But Renegades, I mean, they've not been looking the best. They have a lot I think they can be improving on. They had some time between, so I think they have a chance to, but I want to see where Renegades shows up this week after the bye.
Well, that's going to be the big question, right? I mean, they're 8th place right now. They're at bottom of the bottom. They are 3-17 as well, so they've gotten 3 wins. And, well, of those 3 this year, 2 of them were week 1 of this split. The other one was week 1 of split 1, so a lot of week 1 wins for them. They haven't been able to replicate that since then, so this is going to be a very big week for them. 6th week of play for the PPL, and a lot of pressure, I would say, on the guy on your screen, Shadow, to kind of show up. I mean, he has these monumental moments, specifically in Game 5s. They'll be down like 3-1, and he'll just go insane. He'll go, as Fawn might say it, Super Saiyan, and he will win Map 5 and Map 6 for them, and has done that in the past.
Yeah, he's a player that can really turn it on, and his consistency, I don't think he's as consistent as Invocal, but his highs are massively high. His peaks are crazy, and they really need to channel that energy, I think, if they want to find success beyond week 1. Who would win? Week 1 Renegades or VP now? Are they scared of week 1 Renegades?
VP. I don't think VP's scared of anybody.
I was just making a...
I think that Kanga thing that Vex said earlier, still not even truly scared. But I don't know, week 1 Renegades, they beat Na'Vi. They could beat anybody.
This really is a power check. This is doubleheader SSG versus a Renegades that, maybe
had a break.
That Renegades that had a break could be coming back. They're good after breaks, considering that bye week last time. So
true.
We'll have to see.
It'll be interesting, again, just to see what exactly we're going to see, specifically out of Shadow. One of the ones you had mentioned, because, you can kind of compare them, and they always come up with the comparison. A little bit change to the hair as well. Some blue in there now for Invocal on your screen. But you had said Shadow, his peaks, I would even argue maybe his peaks are slightly higher than what you'll see out of Invocal. Like, his best is maybe slightly higher, but his bottom is a little lower. Like, he's got a wider range, unfortunately. Invocal is one of the most consistent players I think we have in the league. Doesn't matter if he's winning or losing, he'll somehow manage to get like a 3.0 KDA.
Yeah.
And it will make you wonder how you could lose an objective with him behind you.
Yeah, it's about the objective play around him, right? Like, he's always there to contain it, but no matter how good your stats are, if your macro play as a team isn't really there, you can't really capitalize on it. And I think their recent macro play has been better next to him stepping in as IGL, but I don't know. It's hard to capitalize then. But a team that I think has had incredible micro, maybe some improvements over macro over time is SSG. I mean, we haven't seen them in a while, but it's nice to see them again. Of course, again, I'm not biased in the slightest towards SSG, but definitely glad they're back. And now they have some time too to be a little more relaxed and practiced now that they have that house to go, and once they do get their PCs there, they're going to have a much more, I think, rigid practice schedule than what they've had.
And you've already got to see a little taste of Spacestation gaming today, and which means you also got to see Rachao kind of face off toe-to-toe against Dosebs. Didn't quite work for them in the 4 games that they got earlier, but Rachao was one of those players, specifically on Barrack, and I'm really happy that the replay came up Barrack when I mentioned it, because he was one of the players on Barrack, and I would argue before some of the other tanks that we see specifically kind of pioneering it now, who was hitting these 80k, 90k damage marks before Barrack was regularly doing that. I mean, Rachao has an impact.
As an NA plebeian, when I moved into coach for SSG for the first time, and I knew that he was a good point tank, I didn't understand how good until I started, watching their top downs and everything. And he definitely speaks the least English on the team, so I had the least communication with him back and forth. But his just decision making in a lot of these situations is crazy, and I think he has some of the best aim of any main tank in this league. Watching him play DPS and all that, he is a monster on this role.
It's It's all in the mustache, isn't it? That's where he
Probably.
keeps the power. It's hidden in the mustache. Either way,
I wouldn't doubt that.
he has been phenomenal, and like you said, probably one of the best aimers that you have on tank. And that's something that you don't think of as much when it comes down to it. I mean, aim on a tank, most of them, like their shots are going to be decently damaging, but it's not the make or break, right? That's your DPS job. But you have to add up how much that ends up happening. Again, if he's hitting 90,000 at this rate, we've actually seen Barracks hit over 100K in a game. Richao is one of the guys who absolutely can kind of strong arm people off the point.
I mean, 10k damage can make or break a game.
True.
If it's really close, that little bit of damage could mean extra kills for your team. That could lead to it. So that little difference maker, that good aim on a main tank really, really can feel it. And also his ability to flex, too, to some of the other roles, like flexing to Khan. I hadn't seen him play it that much, but, when a draft kind of landed that way, he ended up on it. I watched one round of Khan, and I'm like, you didn't miss a single overpower that entire scrim. Sure, man, we'll draft that more if that's how you want to play it.
I want to know, because you used to coach them, and
Yes.
this is something that if it is going too
No
deep,
leaks.
maybe you
No
can
leak score.
cut me
No
off.
leak. Okay.
But was there anything in those 4 games that you saw earlier that just kind of blew your mind? You were like, I didn't know you guys could do that, or I didn't know you guys would even think of that.
I hadn't seen them play Zen in a while. I would say that's
Okay.
something that kind of surprised me. That's not too much of a surprise. But also their bans were kind of surprising to me too, because they definitely have changed from before. Frozen Guard, though, not one that surprises me. And Shadow Desert from Renegades, if we recall last time, SSG and them played rougher Renegades, so I get them getting rid of it. And then Ice and Timber, the old school standard ban, they're out. And also we can see what we're heading to as well.
That's going to be the question of the day. Serpent Beach to start it off, so one that we got towards kind of the end of last set. Not the last map, but one that we got latter half is going to be our starting point here. And also, I would say a very neutral map between these two teams as well. I mean, it doesn't necessarily ring out to me as an SSG map. Granted, it's been 2.5 months since I've thought of
this
a
is,
map
I
as
was gonna
SSG
say,
or not, so...
This is a map that teams banned against us all the time. We had a couple good performances on it in matches, and our closest match against NIP after our double 4-0 loss to them.
Yeah.
I keep saying our. I mean, I'm wearing the jersey. I'm allowed to say it at least today.
You get one more,
the close
Kresnik.
4-3 loss against NIP was also one that I think kind of put Serpent on the map for them. So I get why they would go to it. SSG. I mean, they are clearly comfortable on it. Khan first pick for them after banning some off tanks. So it looks like maybe a little bit of just off-tank priority, maybe focusing Moon there early in the draft, and RNG might respond with Barrack Willow, and Willow was a very strong pick against SSG in that VP set earlier.
Well, they're going to be able to come through. So the one thing I think me and you were commenting on actually while we were watching the set earlier was we've gotten used to, specifically Virtus Pro does it a lot, but a lot of these teams now, they will sit there for the full bank time. They'll save maybe 10, 15 seconds of their bank time, but they will burn down all of the timers they have to kind of let the draft go on a little longer, talk everything through, make sure everything's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Then they will lock in. SSG doesn't seem to have any of that going for them. They know what they want, and they lock it in almost instantly. And so far, I mean, that's 3 picks. Sadak loves Khan. They love having Ares, in this case, on Maeve, and Freeze God is one of the best EVs we've seen.
Yeah, and that's why I like the double flank for them on a map like Serpent, too, especially. And they used to be a team that burned through their bank time for sure. That was mostly because it does take time to translate back and forth between languages.
They had to sit there and be like, all right, we're going to use the next 20 seconds to tell Kresnik what's going on.
Okay,
and then we're going to ignore whatever he says.
Later in the season, it got a lot better. I was actually able to just kind of listen and then answer. And then they would maybe tell it to Rishao if it was something he didn't know. But it was a lot better later in the season. But I mean, I can definitely see why they would be going through it quickly. And Ares seems to be pretty vocal right now in this draft phase. Not too surprising to me. They kind of all have their part, I would say, in their thing. Ruckus, though, actually, I didn't want to say this before I hand it back over. Ruckus for Moon is interesting because I feel like he hasn't had a crazy standout performance on Ruckus.
No.
Which makes me feel like the off-tank focus strategy by SSG pretty smart for this map because of that.
And that's one of those matchups, I mean, we didn't look at it. We always look at Invocal and Shadow.
Yeah.
Moonchopper, I always felt really bad for, I don't know how long there, because I kept coming up and saying how much his non-impact as off-tank actually will end up affecting them. But I mean, here he has to match up against Sadak, and Sadak and Freeze God have been noted as part of the reason SSG has been so threatening in the past. Part of the reason they do so well is their off-tank and flank combo is just so deadly. Do you think that this Ruckus, Strix, Willow, are they going to be able to deal with the double flank pressure?
They might be able to, specifically because SSG doesn't have an off-tank. Ruckus can kind of bully into the Leon if they find the space. It's about finding the room.
Well, hey, we've got Sadak back on DPS. Let's just go ahead and get this one started. Jump down to the casters and take us to Serpent Beach.
Thank you, gentlemen, up there from the desk. Here we go again. SSG's second game of the day. Obviously, Renegades first in this case. We'll have to see if they made a slight adjustment, even though it wasn't much time to do so.
Right. The biggest thing looking at them today is we set the expectation kind of when we got the chance to speak with them beforehand for this set, but they're coming off with a lot of rust, not a lot of practice. They're worried about this move getting settled, and so their drafts have looked like just out of date. You know what I mean? Not bad, just a little bit out of date. They're playing what they knew best last phase, and that's not necessarily going to cut it nowadays. So to go for that again, it's all they know how to do at the moment. There's not going to be any crazy pocket strategies coming out of SSG today. That is a distinct advantage for their opponents. How Renegades choose to use and abuse that has yet to be seen. Strick's working very well for Mutu last set, and Invokal's going to see if he can meet or even exceed that standard set last time.
Yeah, for sure. We already see a couple shots here and there. Two onto Khan, one of the Furia, which is going to leave her looking at half health in this case. He is in a very good spot. He's able to snipe those who it is that manages to cross to his line side, especially out of that corner. SSG, on the other hand, running that triple DPS, double flank, one hit scan in this case. Just trying to find an opening, but nothing too crazy has begun yet.
First blood just yet, but these health bars starting to dip lower and lower. First blood finally, but it's for SSG. Quickly answered by the Renegades.
Yeah, that's for sure. Shadow ends up finding the kill on mid tower, but not before the trades happening back and forth. Two individuals are down on both sides. Now we have Shadow able to do the damage he needs to on Rachao. Dead zone immediately onto the point, followed by Viral, picking up the kill on Freeze God. And Freeze God makes sure he eliminates their healer before, so that way Renegades has to really decide whether they want to keep pushing or not.
Not a ton of capture either way. 36% for Space Station Gaming. Renegades still not sure they want to dig in on the objective just yet. Moonchopper assassinates the enemy healer before getting out scot-free.
Man, the presence to actually be Sadak in that case, to use it on Invokal. Actually gets the kill on the him and Hero following soon after that. Next one to fall might be Moonchopper, as they definitely see the advantage here and they take it for sure. It's going to force the Willow all the way back, try and get more, not necessarily of a heavy zone started, but you already see the slash lines are looking pretty even on at least both teams' sides.
I was going to say, it feels like a lot of damage done out of this Leon already. Sadak has had to play a little bit of DPS already today, but it's still a lot to ask for him to be top DPS.
Yeah, that's for sure. Shadow ends up getting the kill onto Sadak, but he ends up going down thanks to Midtow. The Pyre Strike comes out as well. Just a little bit of damage to the Khan, backing off of the point, giving him respect. But
sit down, little boy.
The immediate snipe coming out from Invokal. Clearly the Strix. Everyone's waking up to this potential strategy that we saw earlier coming out from Mutu through time and space. Doesn't find anybody but Midtow and Freeze God. Two individuals on SSG have found two kills of their own. Flashbang to go out. Shadow finds it on Ares, but it seems like SSG has too much momentum at this point.
Really close, but no cigar there. I mean, Invokal's crushing a lot of shots home. It's not cleaned up just yet, but this is a bit of a dog pile from the Renegades onto the objective just to try and keep it going. A lot of free damage, and realizing we've got a problem. There's a healer back here. EV soars her way. Dome Shield is expended as well, Stefan. Renegades really want to bring this one back.
They definitely do, to be able to use that, not with the rest of this team following up soon behind him. Is for nothing. The presence followed by the shot from Freeze God is going to be enough to take down Invokal, but Sadat taking out two of his own right before that. It was really, really a hard-fought battle for Renegades at this point, yeah, because they were the ones that were behind on percentage. They dropped Dome Shield, but it just wasn't enough in this case.
Well, SSG had a lot of question marks around them today. We got to see the top and the bottom team square off against our Brazilian friends and really help us get an understanding of where they're sitting. So far, so good against the Renegades, so I guess we can say with confidence they are neither the best nor the worst team in this league. They will be somewhere 2 through 7.
I agree with that as well, especially
it's not a
after
very
that
definitive statement.
No,
but it is a statement.
Yeah, I mean, that much is true, and not so much can be said for the fact on whether Rachao and Ares are alive in this case, because both of them just fell immediately after the push from Renegades had just ended up happening. Now they're going to be able to control this bridge and find the shots it is that they need to keep them from getting back to points easily as they will want to. But, I mean, the ball is still in SSG's court in this case. They've been pushing it non-stop. The picks have been happening from Renegades, but it hasn't been enough, and letting Shadow know he's been outmatched. The overpower, making sure to take advantage of the fact that he was just so happened to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. But Sadat goes down, but their healer is no longer with them on Renegade's side.
Knives continuing to connect here. Just a couple more pairs, and that would get the kill onto Barrett. Commander's grab.
Oh, my goodness.
Flips and Vocal off of the map as well, but Moonchopper manages to survive that backline dive. Pick up a couple of kills for the Renegades. As the last 45 seconds of this round play out, we'll take a quick tally of the ultimates. SSG have Midnight and Inflame available. Getting close on the Ice Storm as well, but Renegades have damn near everything they need and then some to defend with. So it's kind of up to them to figure out how little they can spend and still hold this defense.
Yeah, that much is for sure. Ares knows they're around that corner, and also a little bit further in the back to Midnight to go through so he can just get himself a little bit across that map. The dagger's on the Moonchopper. He knows that he's already low. Ceilings to try and give himself some cover, but it's not going to be enough. Now we have Strix across the bridge trying to look for some type of snipe or any type of damage in this case. Willow is waiting behind that corner on ground level with Invocal being up against Freeze God. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, the flare actually did end up getting a hit, but it wasn't enough. He was about to get the kill, but he just missed it just barely. But Hero finding one on the Ares might be enough for Renegades to find a way back.
Overtime still burning out here. Starting to burn quicker and quicker. The longer we stay in overtime, the faster we fall out of it. The Renegades hold the defense. And SSG will have to go back to the drawing board here as we tie up Serpent Beach 1 game apiece. SSG off to a good start, and it's all good. The longer I think the Renegades have to sort of figure out and slow this game down, honestly, because 3 DPS, without a lot of practice, they're just going to try and come at you fast and overwhelm you. There's really not going to be a whole lot of complexity to what I feel SSG are trying to pull off here. So if the Renegades can use their practice and be a little bit more methodical, I think that's where they will find a lot of advantages. And Freeze God with caught 3. And Rashao with caught 3, and Sadak with Wrecker 3 after one round of play.
That's absolutely
big money
insane.
ballers.
On top, I mean, like, you already see so many level 3s as well. Hero with level 3 of his own on Cauterize, but most of the time, you just see the level 2. You already hear the Faith Flight coming out, though. They want some blood. They're looking out for it. Metal and Sadak go down with Khan being stuck in the danger zone with Shadow on this Willow. They do manage to find the kill onto Moonchopper, but they're already starting to get a zone started. They knew they had so many ultimates online, and they definitely used them to get at least a little bit of percentage on the point.
That's something you just love to see, man. Coming in with a plan. They used a lot. Flashbang is all they have left, and it looks like there will be a contest from SSG. I don't think Renegades are going to get out of this one absolutely for free, but somebody's got to get in there to touch. They've got a couple of good characters to do it, but it's about not dying in the process.
Yeah, that much is sure. We already hear the Ice Storm go down on the point. They managed to pick off Hero, but the Flashbang ends up going out as well. But you already see SSG has a plan of their own with 4 clean kills across the board. A 5th one from Ares is going to cause a team wipe. 90% on the point for Renegades, but a 30% that's steadily climbing. And if it's one thing you don't want to do, it's give a triple DPS composition a way to push back an enemy team and give them the momentum.
60% and climbing now. No comeback mechanic is in play, so SSG are vulnerable to the same take back that we just saw the Renegades pull off. However, the Renegades don't have as much mobility to be able to pull off a safe touch, meaning you see that type of stuff. You see frontliners just diving headlong, almost throwing Hail Marys to get them back in it.
You already see the damage come through, but nice shot coming out from Invocal is going to allow Shadow to pick it up. A triple kill necessarily for him might be enough, not necessarily to get them to point, but it's enough to start the party in this case. And enough kills from Shadow and Vocal with the clutch snipe is going to be able to make sure that they close that point fight out and make sure that Renegades nets them the second point.
This backline, young and hungry for the Renegades. Both of their front lines had to basically just throw their lives away to keep overtime going. They bought just a couple of seconds. Can't tell you how many times in my career I've seen, you know, that little Congo line happen, and, and it just, nothing happens. Nothing comes of it. You're just throwing away free kills. That's a fun example of when it actually gets turned around. There was just a couple of seconds bought, but it was enough time for Shadow and Invocal to muster up something to get the Renegades back in it.
Yeah, that's for sure. The Fae Flight, clearly he wants some damage, or at least to find some type of opening, but they get a kill on Shadow. Hero and Invocal cleaning it up, avenging their fallen friend with finding 2 kills of their own as well. Ares going to have to be forced up here onto the bridge, 41 health remaining. Did you see how fast they turned around as soon as they heard that Leon come around the corner? Both Moon and Invocal looked straight behind them and popped him immediately.
Sadak just absolutely evaporated between Ruckus and the Strix. You know, Talon Rifle into the Flare combination. That is way more than enough burst damage to handle a Leon. 1 shot, 2 shot wouldn't even be found. Ares finds the first kill of this last fight.
Wow, man. The 2 kills at that. Rachel forced to use the overpower in this case. Shadow finding one of his own, but it's going to force the rest of the remaining members of Renegades to fall back, group up with their team, and try again, especially with a minute left on the clock. They should have enough time, but if one thing is for certain, it's going to be a hard time coming up and over this hill to try and find a way back in.
45 on the clock, more items starting to be purchased. A lot of SSG going into a second offensive or red item, whereas you see a lot of Renegades moving already into resilience. Not a ton of CC to be mitigated outside of midnight, and that's clearly I think what Renegades are most worried about.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, they're definitely worried about. I mean, yeah, that's you already said it perfectly. And that in that instance, Ares and Midtow both go down, but Hero with a double kill of his own. The early through time and space, as well as a few good shots, are going to land Renegades of just a couple kills to get themselves in there. But SSG holds strong with 4 seconds left on the clock. Sadak really a triple kill to be able to clutch that one out, make sure he defends that for his team. And if they were up 3-1, that would have been pretty scary for SSG in that case.
Well, either team holding each other here on Serpent Beach. It's honestly, even if you look back at the Na'Vi NIP set, that was kind of the theme of the map as well. In a set where everybody was blowing each other apart, 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, Serpent Beach was the only map that slowed it down and allowed these teams to get a little bit later into those item builds, watch and see which compositions start to fall off and which ones can continue to find success. Combined time of 12 minutes here was about as long as it took for games 1 and 2 of NIP Na'Vi. And as they head out to spawn, or mid-cap for the 3rd time this round, not a ton of ultimates left for SSG in the tank or for the Renegades. They kind of have to make a lot happen with just a few resources.
Yeah, that's for sure. Ice Storm, you already hear it going out, but a nice shot from Invocal is going to keep them just a little bit back. Moonchopper is traded out for Ares as well. 1-1. Both members are down. He's already in the dead zone, has to back off Enlightenment to keep himself alive. But Shadow is going to be in a good enough spot to make sure he can pick up that kill. Fae Flight to come through to get some damage on a Rachel to force Midtow back as well. Frontliner and healer back to back, literally in this case, forced into a corner, unable to really push out without the rest of their team to follow through, and Blast Flower landing a lot of damage onto Rachel. Rachel all the way in the back, but Inflame to try and get something started.
Yeah, Rachel's definitely struggling just to kind of get out there. It's taking a lot of pressure from Willow. A little Hexafire will clean it up, keep Sadak in the corner for the time being. A Pyre Strike to further deter anyone from pushing down Leon. But it's so much time being bought, Stefan, that this one just kind of quietly goes in favor of the Renegades without any contest.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely trying to fight back in SSG's case. You clearly saw the Inflame trying to be used to get anything started, but it was like they already had their plan. They knew what they wanted to do, and they stuck to it. And Invocal, man, credit to him. If I can see a look at the damage charts once again, just out of pure curiosity, Willow ends up just surpassing him, but the two of them, man, Invocal, Shadow, have been just tearing it up with being in the right place at the right time.
Great foresight here, and it's the SSG frontliner, probably one of the more negative in the game, but the back line, where the Renegades sporting a 17-8 slash line.
Wow.
Look at that on Willow. I mean, not a lot to contest her either, Sadak. You've got an off-tank playing a backliner doing his best, but it's not enough to keep a lid on what Shadow's brought.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. Along with the fact that, you give credit, of course, where credit is due. Viral, I don't know if he's missed any through time and space other than one I saw him not hit. He's been getting so many picks on some of these squishier targets on SSG's side that it's been really working out for him. And in this case, we see, now even though a few individual Renegades are down, they have a minute 10 left with Ares getting a few daggers on the Moonchopper to try and open some stuff up. Dismounting Hero in this case with a couple more daggers. But really, man, I mean, Renegades looks like they could easily take this one.
60 on the clock to try and do it. Enlightenment comes out, but again, it will not find a home. Sadak gets aggressive into the back line for nothing. Whiffs his ultimate as well. Overpower is going to have to be the great equalizer.
It's going to have to be, but he doesn't go down. The rest of Renegades is already on top of them to make sure they cannot move. They don't need to do what they can. Mitao finds the kill. Ares with the daggers, but it's not going to be enough to stop Renegades' momentum.
Just little things here and there for SSG, right? You know, that's a very bold dive from Leon onto a Ruckus, as well as I believe that was a Willow back there. And Overpower comes out, grabs Willow. Whether or not Rochelle knew it, the Fae Flight was available, so if he tried to just throw her off of the map, she would have just flown back on. Exactly. Either way, Flutter is a great way to cover a lot of distance nowadays. So not the best Overpower target, kind of a risky dive from Leon. These are mistakes that Renegades are going to be able to capitalize on, man.
Yeah, I mean, you said it before, the fact that SSG hasn't practiced in a while, and Renegades can use that to their advantage already with a game 1 under their belt. We'll see how they do the rest of the set after this break.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, they're in a good spot now. So far, Renegades up 1-0. And maybe this break thing really works for them because they're coming in a little stronger. It took them a little bit to get there, a very contested first couple of rounds, but they ultimately seal the deal. And so, Kresnik, I actually want to ask you how you feel about it. This is a very, very scary stare that I'm seeing. But, yeah, again, you have a roommate on one team. You have past affiliation with the other team, so I trust you can be truly unbiased, or maybe super biased. You just are biased for both.
I'm biased for both of them, yeah.
In that case,
what's the question?
That's about the same way. It's just going to come down to where was the turning point? What gave Renegades the lead?
I really think SSG just haven't really figured out the Willow yet. I saw Shadow kind of getting a lot of value out of the Fae Flight. It's very, very tough for them to just kite away from that damage. The double flanker pressure, the concept of it was great. I think that Khan was definitely not the solo tank they needed in that situation. And I also feel like, I mean, the very first fight, Mitao does not play a ton of Furia. He had the top deaths on his team after that first fight. It ended up a lot better, but I think that's mostly just because almost a symptom of the aggression of the rest of his team more so than anything. Everyone kind of just, when you're the only one not trying to feed for the sake of the strategy, your stats are just going to look nicer.
Well, we were talking about Invocal, 12, 10, and 17. There's actually a point in this game where he was negative, and that was the thing that we were kind of honing in on. But you have to look a little lower. You've got a 5 and 7, you've got 9 and 10, you've got 5 and 13 there for Moonchopper, and none of it mattered because Shadow did decide to do his typical Game 5 thing here in Game 1 and went with the 20 kills on top of it, a 2.9 KDA, 106k damage, and like you said, SSG, they just don't seem to understand how to stop this Willow yet.
Yeah, I mean, she's better into tanks, definitely, so triple DPS is a good answer conceptually, but they're just not ready to deal with this new Fae Flight. You can tell Khan really does struggle into her with the ability to spam off the walls, like you just saw twice in a row immediately, those kills from that. So Shadow really did apply a ton of pressure to them, and they just don't know how to deal with it quite yet. I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe some bans, some early picks like they tried to do against VP coming out of SSG, but they need to find something and fast.
It's definitely going to be maybe a tall order, and actually maybe take a play out of NIP's playbook, which has been banning Willow lately.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that they've been able to kind of be here for the rise of Willow, so they've been able to play this is good against her, this is not good against her, but there is a certain turning point where you just go, you know what, she's just good, maybe we just use one of our bans. I mean, you've got Ashe, who was in the 4 last game, who is maybe that, like, you don't have to ban her, but you can because she's pretty good. And I think Nick said it best earlier, where Khan and Ashe, they were big the last time we saw SSG here.
Yeah.
But in the last 6 weeks or 5 weeks of play for the PPL, they kind of disappeared. So we'll have to see how that affects things as we go to Splitstone Quarry.
And Splitstone Quarry is a great map for Willow. I mean, I feel her ability to rotate from low ground to high ground is massive, and her spam potential is huge. She's definitely, I mean, you used to see, Victor, Leon, Cassie on that high ground, but I think Willow is honestly, at least now, the best champion to fill that, because I feel like she can, all those other champs, they can dive into lava from the high ground, right, to do a dive with their off tank. They can't come back. They waddle back otherwise, and look at the bans, RNG banning Torv and Genos, 2 damage boosts off the field.
I will say this, just to pick on one thing you said. Going to throw it out there, diving into lava, not recommended for your general health.
I agree.
But diving into the area around lava, that can be okay. Not in real life, still don't do it. But Willow comes through here, typical bans, Torvald, Alice, Makoa. Genos throws his name onto there. And that honestly just feels like Renegades watched the set earlier. It was, 4 games, and SSG picked Genos all 4 games.
Yeah.
So last game they take it away, this game they ban it out, forcing Mitau to maybe fall back on that Fury one more time.
Yeah, and then it's something I don't think we've seen a lot of historic play from him in the previous phase. I mean, he did play a lot of Genos and Damba, but it was also kind of everybody playing Genos and Damba. There was some random priority of other healers. I mean, we've seen some Ying from him too, but Fury definitely not something you really expect. But SSG, they get their Rashao's hands on the Barrack. They have the Furia for that inflame pressure if they want to use it. What? I didn't. I was looking at you. What was the?
There was a flash of sky on the screen, and I was the only reason I was against it was because I was like, that is a very early sky. That is ambition incarnate. But it seemed like maybe they clicked the wrong name first, hit the sky, then went to the Strix, which. I'm going to ask you, I mean, snipers kind of disappeared from Splitstone Quarry for a little while. Not necessarily because they're bad here, but because people realized maybe if we pull in Victor or Leon, we can do the same thing, but also fight a little closer.
Yeah, and I think this is just kind of people finally realizing those stealth changes that happened a while ago. Like, as you know now, you don't get broken from stealth with damage. It just kind of pops up the damage numbers instead. And that makes it a lot harder to track characters in stealth. Yes, they can just buy Illuminate, but before that's online, not only is that splitting you from getting other items that could be more important, it takes away an item slot, too, that you could be using on something else.
And, I mean, you're looking at it maybe in a sniper-sniper battle, right? Knessa just has to hope you're standing in the same spot the next time she comes back. But even for someone like Eevee, unless she sticks to you, unless she's looking at those damage numbers as you presumably are running away, she's not going to know until, like you said, Illuminate comes online. So potentially being able to play around with that as they're looking for their last 2 picks here. Renegades feeling pretty confident on here. This is actually the map we started on today, and if I remember correctly, SSG chose this. This is one that they historically, 3-split-1, were very good on as well. But Renegades here, first pick, I believe, opting for this map. Is that kind of maybe a telltale sign that they're feeling pretty good against this team?
It's that, or it's the strategy where you pick a map that a team likes because you don't think they've practiced second pick on a lot. It's something that you can do. I know that I made that decision to do that against Virtus Pro with SSG earlier in Phase 1, where we started on Ascension Peak, which with that last VP roster, that was just their map. I mean, they basically didn't lose it, but we did take them on it. So it could be that strategy, or maybe they're just feeling split. Maybe they just like it. Maybe they just want to get this map out of the way before SSG adapts maybe a little bit more to the changes in the meta.
Well, they locked in the Grover, the Inara, probably going to be playing more towards stairs, bleachers, whatever you want to call them. Kind of the underpass area, the fidget spinner of death. There's so many words for that one spot that can come through here for Splitstone, but the last one locked in there is going to be Cassie, presumably for Ares, a much more standard composition here for SSG. Do you have anyone that you're feeling a little more?
Honestly, I was with Renegades until the Strix. I feel like their comp might be too passive, but if FRZ goes a little bit too fast, he needs to control his pace, or else I think that defensive comp from Renegades could just obliterate his chances to go in.
He's got to kind of break it down, but he's got to do it the old-fashioned way. Got to kind of chip at it instead of just battering ram into it. He could just splat against the wall.
If anyone can do that, it would be FRZ.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not he can do that as we get down into map number 2 to see if SSG can tie it up.
I like how we see Strix picked on 2 maps that he can be picked on, but he's not as expected, because you normally don't see like whether him or Canessa on either Serpent Beach or Splitstone Quarry, because you either never see them or you just see people pick somebody else. And now after the Strix picks today, now we're just seeing the Strix in general on the Renegade side already. 2 games in a row where they opt to go for the Strix in both in both games, and I think that's just because, I mean, these maps work for him. It's not like it's awful.
Yeah, definitely, man. At the moment, Hero has Tremors selected, as you can see himself.
Interesting.
Popping up with the wall. We'll see if he actually leaves base. Your talent is, and your loadout are able to be changed until you step foot out of spawn for the very first time in a game. The merits to it would be, obviously, you have your wall up a lot more often, meaning you can stand out in the open a lot more often because you can throw the wall up and just butt up against it. You could also, if you're running whatever level of summit he ended up running in that loadout, Hero can bounce himself up to the high ground and actually take high ground. It's not just Serpent Beach. I mean, sometimes you see it on Serpent Beach, and it looks like he swapped back to a more standard Anar.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that's the case. However, Moonchopper landed the first kill for him, and the second in this case. Renegades are with 2 kills under their belt, 36% onto the point, 18 on SSG's side. Now, this is interesting because Renegades definitely has to make sure they try and control these spots it is that you normally see the rotations in, like over here. It's a little side room, but you really see everybody grouping up back there on bridge because they have the range to actually deal with it. Freeze God blinking in, blinking out, trying to get a few shots as all those targets up there on high ground are squishy. He doesn't find anything, but he is going to force the Anar just a little bit more back, make sure they don't actually, she doesn't actually die in this case.
And this is a really good spot for Willow to be in, especially with 99% already on the objective. FRZ does a great job tracking him down and making sure that he dies. Chopper trades it out, though. It's a 2-for-1. Both kills coming from Chopper. Make it 3 from the Chopper.
That's for sure in this case, man. I mean, Renegades already netted themselves the point. Moonchopper, 5-0. All of the kills on Renegade's side. Been a Moon, where you going? Don't try and run away from me immediately. The overpower comes through, followed by the seismic crash, man. Renegades, what is this momentum they have all of a sudden? That's netting them these kills. Shadow, 2 kills. Invocal, 2 kills. Moonchopper, 2 kills in this case. Like, what's happening right now?
Moving very quickly off of these captures, realizing that SSG is maybe looking like weakened prey today. This is the Renegades that I wanted to see in this set, though, Stefan, because we can't forget that not but a couple of weeks ago, the conversation was, my goodness, look at the Renegades. Where did this come from? How did all of this happen? You know, they didn't make any roster changes, so it's all just internal adjustments, and they were looking like a very strong team, a very strong contender. Again, that conversation has since shifted a little bit as they had some defeats in the weeks prior, but this is still a team that you expect to be able to compete. I would be concerned if I saw SSG come in off of 2 months of no practice and just crush the Renegades, right? The Renegades, they are a team that's definitely here to stay. They need to make these improvements, and they need to be able to beat teams like SSG, who are at the moment in a bit of a weakened state.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. However, Ares, the double kill, Rachao, one of his own, but the priority target is still a little bit alive. Both tanks, both frontliners on Renegade sides are pretty much cleaning up the rest of what exists. However, that defender's advantage, meaning SSG is going to be right back in the fight more readily than Renegade's team is going to be. And they're going to definitely try and get the kill, or at least stagger out here a little bit, and they do end up staggering him out. It's going to force the rest of Renegades, in this case, to sort of just back off and give him respect.
43 on the clock. Freeze is looking out, trying to see if he can find any cracks in this defense. There's a lot of backline going on for the Renegades here. They have a Grover not far away at all times as well, and a Nara who's never out of arm's length because she physically can't move that fast. So everyone is going to be kind of around and ready to assist, meaning FRZ's job can get a little bit difficult, but he has to stay patient. Can't get frustrated. I imagine this is one of the more frustrating ways to play EV. First pick found by the Renegades already. 9 seconds on the clock. Can they convert?
I agree with that too. We already see 1 kill for 1 kill on both team sides in this case. The assert dominance to go through SSG, make sure they at least try and hold the best they can. But the Viral getting a kill on the Freeze God. That's another individual on the SSG side that is down with the healing still being pumped through. Whirlwind comes in clutch, keeps Hero alive and well in this case. And they definitely want the damage to come through for sure. Brachao goes down next. Shadow being really, really low, 181 health still remaining. But Renegades is in such a good spot that the kills still keep coming up blue and allow them to push it in 2-0. And I'm glad that you actually made that point earlier, Nick, is the fact that SSG hasn't really trained, and a lot of people are really questioning whether Renegades could actually like keep up with the big boys or not, right? But Renegades is still a very veteran team. Like, they're still well versed, and we're seeing it right now, literally, how strong they've been playing, not just last game, but this game as well.
It's to show that they belong in this league, right?
Right, exactly.
You lose this game to a team that hasn't been able to practice because they're more focused on the relocation. And to be honest, you know, it might seem like we're a little down on SSG today, but it's just something they had to do, right? They're trying to be here for the long term. They're trying to, you know, make that investment in becoming a better team and making it easier on these players, so they don't have to travel back and forth and they could just live here nearby the studio where all the games have to be played live. And you know, that's a big time investment. They're joining late, they're doing what they can, but right now the Renegades just have them figured out.
I mean, yeah, man. Sadat gets the kill on the Invocal. He already went all the way in the back line, probably with Freeze. You already see him back up there. They're controlling that bridge right now. They're splitting these guys up, or at least pincering them in this case. With the damage coming in from so many different angles, we see that Hero's the next one to fall with the pistol shots coming out from Strix, trying to see what he can do. Two blind shots, 2 no-scopes in this case, making sure that he gets some damage onto Sadak. But Sadak ends up taking him down as well. Fayfly and the Willow in this case, trying to get just anything, open up any sort of opportunity for their team in this case, but they can't seem to find it.
Comeback mechanic is ticking up rapidly for SSG. Renegades are going to be able to get in there, get a touch, get back out unscathed. Wall goes up for Hero, a bit of a pseudo shield, if you will. Another assert dominance up on the high ground. Pyre Strike connects, but it's not enough. Sadak and the boys of SSG did manage to find a couple of kills, but it's a 2v3 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Wait, Viral's actually still alive. He's like,
that Grover safe.
Oh, I was about to say.
Protect him at all costs.
He was still alive that whole time, just chugging axes, making sure he can actually stay in league with the big boys in this case. 528 health still for Anara. She's not dead either. She's not dead either. Wait a minute. They're actually still holding the point in this case. And Vocal, Hero both go down, but a triple kill to Ares is now starting to make it more obvious that in this case, SSG has the advantage and the momentum.
Very, very close. I think if Hero can make it out completely alive there, he lived for a very long time. Ares ultimately finds the lethal bolt there. You know, Moonchopper was right there on the con. There was a pretty significant chance that I think the Renegades might have been able to close that one out. But it's still 2-1. So it is what it is. The defense would still net the Renegades a point, and that's always something to look forward to, I think. You know, not all is lost in this round, so to speak. They still have a lot to fight for.
With 2 kills already looking up for Renegades, and that means that they'll have more of a chance to actually zone SSG out. Burn a little bit of that timer to make sure they actually can't get back. Already see the Furious Omega low in the back. Really, really low. Making sure that she can't actually push out as easily as she'd like to. Either use a little bit of that combat healing, peeking out every now and again to get this burst going. But Grover, man, being able to stay near his team, literally was up sieged with 2 of his team members in that case, both Willow and the Strix, just waiting up in high ground and making sure they all stay juiced up, still ready to go. A few shots from Shadow are going to net him some damage on a mid-tower, and he does find the kill. Their healer being down, that's going to allow the rest of Renegades to push up.
There it is, into the ice block. Read like a book, though. Shadow, very nicely played. Cleaning up the Eevee today. Again, Eevee players sometimes are some of the best at countering Eevee players because they're aware of all the tricks. They pull a lot of them themselves. They know how to get the reads. They know where you like to blink from and chew, and when you soar, how to track those cooldowns. All types of fun stuff to keep track of with such a great character like Eevee.
Yeah, I do agree with that, my friend. However, Moonchopper just went down. Freeze God finding a pick of his own, which is going to allow SSG not only a little bit of a chance at life, but also to make sure they can make it back to the payload to try and get this one pushed in. And like you said, if Renegades manages to defend, they're up 3-1. They don't really have anything to lose at this point, with 4 ultimates being up for them. SSG, almost all of them up for SSG in this case. But, I mean, it really comes down to this last few fights as the clock is steadily lowering.
And still a decent way, really just the first choke now kind of half-ish being broken. I mean, SSG are not in a very confident position at the moment. They haven't fully broken this corner and forced Renegades away. With that kill on the Shadow, though. I almost, you know, it always gets answers back so quickly in this set. Whenever somebody dies, it feels like an answer from the enemy is always there.
It's always
fighting tooth and nail for this overtime.
That's for sure. And fighting tooth and nail is a perfect way to phrase it for the Dome Shield, as well as the Inflame to be popped, as well as the Assert Dominance, but he dies mid-air, so that Assert Dominance isn't actually used. Only happens if you manage to actually hit the ground for it, for the cooldown to not be there. But in this case, though, so many ultimates used, and the fact that Dome Shield is gone now, that is absolutely enormous. That's huge for Renegades coming into this round.
A tough one for sure. Lots of resources spent for SSG. Not a lot spent for the round. I don't think actually anything used for the Renegades, and I'm pretty sure they have every single ultimate available for them. Small moments of the light at the end of that tunnel. But yeah, Renegades have absolutely every resource to work with. Sadak did not complete the animation for Assert Dominance, so he will still have that. And that's probably the biggest part of their team fight to come, man. A couple of people picking up Illuminate to make it easier to assassinate Invocal. That was the strategy last time for SSG. Freeze and Sadak went straight to the back line, ulted that man, and got him out of the game as soon as possible. You can see he's changed up his positioning. Way in the back there, you can see Strix's silhouette. He's trying to play at a much safer angle this time around, so he's not as susceptible to that dive.
Yeah, as well as him knowing that they actually are in the bag. The Assert Dominance to move up, overpower as well to follow through. Gets another one on Rachao in the same spot, but look at Shadow sweeping in, making sure he can find the kills. Finds 2, Moonchopper 1, and Vocal 1 to total 4 going down in SSG's name. Renegades already controlling so much of this space. And with 81%, it's hard for me to believe SSG will be able to get back onto the point to try and start something.
Finding some good shots here. Flashbang is at the ready for the Renegades. So is Whirlwind. It's just it's a matter of resources at this point. The Renegades have been able to accomplish what they've accomplished so efficiently that it's left them in a really good spot for the long haul.
However, man, oh man, just as I say it, I doubted them. I apologize. They immediately get a team wipe. In that case, they do manage to start their own zone going 19% and steadily climbing. With that comeback mechanic being available, it's going to be a lot harder for Renegades to be able to try and break the zone that SSG have, unless we see what they're doing right now, which is they seem to be grouped. They all want to get to that point. They want to end it right now, but nice grab. That is definitely the start of something. Inflame to try and counter what they have in store, but Invocal, 2 kills for him, 3! The sniper himself is alive. Strix finding some openings and making sure he can leave it for his team. The 4th one to come out from Invocal is going to be enough for Renegades to net that one.
Just nasty mechanics from Invocal there. He rotates in. He's begging for the fist
Oh, yeah.
bump
He's like,
from
please,
Pyro.
please.
He finally gets it. He finally gets it done there. Again, high efficiency, man. The Renegades didn't really use a lot for that prior defense, which set them up very nicely for this next round in that they had all of those resources available to them. And even in that situation, leading up to that final fight, they are 99% to 0%. Right. Obviously, SSG comeback mechanic gets them to the 99-99, but it's because of the cleanliness up until that point. I think the Renegades had the legs to close it out.
Right, yeah. I mean, I would just believe the fact that that first pick, when they actually managed to get the commander's grab onto that Ashe and Invocal sniped him, I was like, oh, from
that's a lot
here
of
on
damage.
out, that's going to be tough if they can end up making any sort of comeback from SSG's side. You heard the Inflame be popped as soon as Ashe went down to try and counteract. They knew Renegades was coming in. So for them to be able to use that, utilize it, and still end up falling shows that, I mean, Renegades are here to play today. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. That's pretty much it for this first game, though. We're going to throw you guys, I think, to a quick little break. And when we're back, it'll be game 2.
Did they say that?
I now powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're up by 2, and they're looking pretty good doing so as well. Renegades are right now on a run, but it's not the first time we've seen them up 2-0, so don't want to get too far ahead of myself. SSG definitely have been adapting today, and I think we're starting to see that what Sadak said is true. You're looking at, well, 2 months of an unpracticed machine that still kind of does what it knows how to do, but it's not doing it as well oiled as some of the others.
It needs the WD-40 on the joints, definitely, for at least to make some of the strategies work out. I was originally doubting.
All I can imagine is you running in there with a WD-40 and just spraying everyone on SSG.
Listen, if I wasn't on every set today, I absolutely would have been in the booth just messing around on one of them. But they just could not counter-execute, I think, what Renegades wanted to do. I thought they'd be able to win that quarry side. I really did. I thought they could win Fidget Spinner. That was what they kind of needed to do, but they just couldn't win. They couldn't win the brawls in there. I mean, Ares had his moments, but they just could not break through the wall that was the Renegades in quarry.
And honestly, the wall, you can see the damage kind of built up. Shadow, I think worth noting, Willow, again, causing a lot of trouble for them. Maybe not as much this time around as she did in the last game, but definitely doing a lot. And Vocal having a much better game, at least through my eyes, in the Strix here. But it does come down, the wall is Hero and Moonchopper. Those were the ones they needed to break down, and those were the ones that they were having so much trouble getting through.
Yep. Both of the tanks on Renegades, I thought, played really well here. I mean, they locked down SSG. They couldn't get through. Moonchopper specifically on Khan, I feel, had a lot of confirms, as you'd expect from your Khan, but just, again, he locked his area down. When they had to give it up, he would, and was there to clean up afterwards. He caught Sadak dashing out from upper in the end, and I think that's what bought them their retake. Yeah, Hero had the flank to touch the point, but everything else I felt was very much so on Moonchopper. Yeah. Both of them did a ton of damage. I mean, Hero also out-damaged in Vocal at the end of the game.
True. And that's actually one of those things, and I will say this, because I feel like this might not even be an opinion, this might just be fact at this point, but I think on his best days, with his best performances, Hero is one of the best front lines in the league. The problem is we just don't get them that often. That's they're not far and few in between, but some games you have, the Hero we just saw. Mm-hmm. Some games you have a Hero that performs, surprisingly, this does exist, even better than that. And sometimes you end up with the Hero that we've seen the last few weeks where it's just not finding a lot. The same thing can be said for Moonchopper. I don't think I will give him, under my personal opinion, of mantle of, hey, he's one of the top off-tanks in the world if he's having a great game. But his performances can be very polarizing, and that's honestly a make or break.
Yeah, I would agree, and we'll have to see how well they perform coming into Bright Marsh here. A map that your tank play, I think, is really important because there's a lot your tanks can do to start a fight. I mean, we've seen some fights get won purely because an Inara just mounted to one side and got a wall. I mean, if you rotate your point tank to apartment side, and it literally wins an entire fight to the point where they can't even retake. So a lot of pressure on them still, and a lot of pressure on this draft to see how SSG adapt, because this Willow has torn them apart 2 games in a row.
I think it was actually Game 3 last time around that they started toying a little bit more with their bans. It was Furia.
First picked Willow, I believe.
Yeah, and that came through, and then they grabbed the Cassie as well. And this time, well, hey, lo and behold, we're predicting at least a little bit here with the Furia coming through. But their Willow, as good as Freeze is, didn't quite hit, I think, the same way that we saw. And I don't think it was necessarily his fault. It was just one of those things where it was like you put a lot on the line to get it, and maybe it was just because Virtus Pro is Virtus Pro, but it didn't do as much.
I think it was the fault of the map. I mean, it was Stone Keep,
Stone
and he was
Keep,
playing in like the medium high ground the whole time, which really isn't where you want your Willow.
And
it was into a Drogo's too.
yeah, that's the star I was going to put next to it. It's like that caveat of Fisheko's a really good Drogo's,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of really, really good mid-air shot trades that were definitely in favor of the Drogo's more than the Willow. This time around, we'll have to see if that comes through. But you had mentioned Maeve earlier in a discussion about hunting down Drogo's.
Yeah.
Does she have the capability to do that to a Willow as well?
At this level, yes. In my casuals, when someone says that they'll do it, no. But here, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it before. We have some of those clips of just, I think we have a clip of Mutu literally using every single cooldown in the air, just hovering next to a Willow. I'm doing something with my hands. You guys can't see that anyway. Hovering next to a Willow and taking him down and getting away, basically uncontested. So it is definitely possible when these players are this good.
That was one of the best Maeve plays I think I've ever seen as well.
And I
I
have
mean,
a
he
feeling-
cycled through almost everything, and again, on someone who doesn't come to my mind in the first 3 names when I think Maeve, Mutu's not on that list, but that just goes to show how talented these players are.
For sure.
At flexing around, and well, they're hovering over her. Renegades were the first team, if I remember correctly, to play Io on Ice Mines, and did not win that one,
No.
unfortunately for them. And they're going to lock her in, so just tell me a little bit more about her.
I mean, this is specifically, I think, to pocket Moon or to pocket the Inara, depending on how they decide to take this. This will help them kind of win that left side. They're going to be very light on damage, though. I think that's the bigger problem. Io is solid healing, solid damage, but not exceptional in either category. So unless they just put, this could be even like focusing Lens Ying and Io on support too. There's a lot of ways they could do this, especially since I think Ying just got a buff to her damage per tick, I believe. I don't remember what the
Can't
buff
remember
was
if that
exactly.
one is that one in this update. I can't remember if my updates all get mashed up because of the update show that we.
It should
do
be in this
through.
patch. I don't think she got one next patch.
But I will say I think the only time I've seen Io in this position again competitively, and it was a console league game I believe on Bazaar where they were using her as the
Yes.
outtink, or maybe Renegades have used her like that in the past. We'll just have to see if Io can do it here. We're going down to Brightmarsh.
Man, oh man, Io. Now that's not something that we don't see her really brought out ever, even though her pocketing ability has been shown in a very, very good manner. We just don't see her as often as most people would like to see her.
Nah, brand new character, kind of a unique kit, right? She's got some things about her that are new, that are going to take some getting used to. Yeah, I remember way back when Talus came out, like he was one of the characters that wasn't readily available. Like he wasn't really obvious how he was supposed to be played and leveraged to the best of his ability. And Will Be Goddess's Blessing, which is the damage reduction option, and Invocal will be piloting this. Fun thing about Io, the Fox that she deploys, Luna, can capture the objective, can push the payload. She just effectively functions as a 6th player for your team that you can leave and capture for free with.
Yeah, that much is for true. We already see that Invocal really is pushing up along with Hero, but the first blood comes out on the Shadow with big game damage, leaving Hero in the dirt, making sure that Invocal has to back off, and Viral living within an inch of his life before he too falls. Invocal is in the dead zone already. They're already make sure they can push, but the stun and the battle shout along with the lunar leap to finish off that little survivability combo right there are gonna leave him alive and looking well.
Well, 66% on the objective for Space Station Gaming. Haven't seen a lot of use of Luna so far from Invocal. I mean, ideally, I think they drop. That's what I thought they were doing, right? Because when Inara's running you down, I assume it's because you're going to drop Luna on the objective and just pocket Inara while she turns her brain off and does her thing. Potentially could see that here now. So there is a chance. A lot of these shots are hitting, but again, Luna just doesn't do crazy damage.
Right. I mean, she
Mostly
is
because she's a healer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is true. If she did have a lot of healing, that'd be kind of nutty. But, however, the stun coming out from Luna was really, really good in that case. Through time and space to try and see if he can get a snipe on anybody trying to open something up isn't going to be enough, though. Shadow finds a kill onto Sadak, but what? Yikes!
Got to do what you got to do, I guess. Had to get the touch. Had to start overtime, and figured the only way out of this is up and through. So pop the Fae Flight through the dice. And he's going to come up. Look at the mobility, man. You can really cruise around the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't even really know what to say in response to that. Like with Invocal, he's leaping all over the place, bouncing from one place to the next in that case. Assert dominance to try and see if they can find an opening, but Sadak gets walled off immediately. Now he's forced to pretty much use the shots as much as he wants to. Legionary Rift to follow through. The ult comes out. Make sure he can knock Sadak back. Chow getting killed by Shadow. Another one on Shadow's list as Sadak finds him too, forcing Freeze God and the rest of SSG back into their base and allowing themselves to really just zone super hard in this case on Renegades.
It's going to take one more, and Ara up to the high ground, starting to push people down. Hero is not afraid of SSG's back line. Just trying to buy as much time as he possibly can as this payload is now parked on its final destination. Luna's there to push it. They only need to get the kills.
Yeah, they definitely do. That Seismic Crash was trying to set up for something, but doesn't find the kill they wanted onto Rachao. Shadow eating a little bit too much damage in that case. And Ares really just looking out, trying to make sure he can land these crossbow bolts. However, man, oh man, denied immediately. He heard Midnight didn't even finishing off with that voice line. He immediately used Scout, gave all his team some vision. Now they're trading 1-for-1 with Freeze God getting a few good shots.
Freeze has a lot of time to free fire as well. One more shot will do it on the Shadow. He finds it with ease. 47 on the clock means that Renegades have a lot of time to recollect themselves and find a new way, and you know, maybe possibly recharge some ultimates. About a minute is what you want to expect everyone to have their ultimate charged. As far as a window, Overpower's ready to go. Illusory Rift, obviously Midnight just got counted out by the Scout, so that's going to be a minute before it's back up. But talking about Begone, Io's ultimate, it's basically this huge fox-headed projectile that catches anyone in its path and scoots them back, and if they collide with a wall, they take a bunch of damage. So not exactly lethal at this juncture, but there are ways to push people off of the map on Bright Marsh with it, like near the stairs on the dock side of the mid-fight.
Right, exactly. The time is ticking down, however. Really, SSG has to find some sort of way to do what they need to. Almost killed Sadak midair. Didn't find it, though, with a kill on the Moon Chopper. Hero looking pretty low, and he goes down next. Looks like SSG is going to be able to stabilize themselves by making this a 1-1.
Just a little bit there. And Renegades probably feel okay with that one. They have one great team fight, but unfortunately it was, while they were kind of hurry up and waiting for the payload, if they found that initial team fight, actually I think this was it. You see the payload indicator at the top of your screen. It's about halfway right now. If this was already past the windmill, which is that real nasty choke on Bright Marsh that usually gives the offense the most trouble, had they already been past that point when they found that fight, would have been a much easier time of conversion. But timing your team fights is it's kind of a fine detail that can be easily glossed over, right? You don't want to like go all in and win this big fight when you don't really have a lot to gain, if that makes sense. The payload's like not in a spot where it's being contested anyway. So small details, but that's all that really to be improved on, because at face value, I think the Renegades are playing very well. Nice.
I agree with this. Nice daggers, man. Managing to land a couple, making sure he can try and look for something onto that Willow. On finding the kill, but enough to zone, and now Mittal's enough
Tips
really to be in a good spot. Yeah, Milady in this case. Manages to get the kill onto Shadow, and Vocal goes down thanks to Ares as well. 60% for SSG in this case. And really, Renegades are just trying to make their way back to point. The Midnight means they're looking for something, but literally a blind shot allows them to do what they need to. The Overpower man stalls just a little bit, forces Freeze God to go down. 5 seconds left on his respawn timer. And I mean, SSG's looking for a really aggressive zone here.
Just taking a long time to get the feet back under them. Out goes Luna with the payload already captured by SSG in the Iron March towards conversion. Shall begin now. And Vocal finds a kill onto Ares. And after how well things went with Strix, man, it's almost a little risky. Again, kind of like with that tenor conversation. It's like, yeah, he can play a ton of stuff, but sometimes it's a little scary to put one of your hyper carries on something that's really not able to carry the game.
Right, exactly. You already see him Vocal, man, with the record 2s, and just the rezills. Only him and Moonchopper have it currently, but you see the CODs, you see the records. On the flip side, you already see 3 bulldozers. That's why I brought up what Renegades have, because I'm like, oh, you see pretty standards, and you look over to SSG, and you see the bulldozers. They want to be able to melt Luna. Luna is still a force to be reckoned with. You want to be afraid of her for sure, and so they want to be able to melt that dog, make sure it can't do what they need to.
A lot of deployables on the side of the Renegades. I think only Barrack is the missing deployable character. And Imani, I guess, if you want to throw her ultimate into that mix as well. But never a time better to pick up the young bulldozer item. It's pretty cheap as well, very effective at destroying the Ying clones, the Inara walls, warders fields, as well as Luna. Luna's pretty damn tanky, especially when you're running Goddess's Blesses like this. You know, you're giving that damage reduction to Luna as well as all of the healing that you can pour in. So definitely an effective combination. Luna can absolutely tank up a team fight in a clutch scenario where you don't have any other options.
Yeah, I do agree with that. You already see the Flutter coming out, making sure they can get some damage on the hero, walls himself off, keeps himself alive just for a little bit longer. However, the Flay Flight coming out from SSG means that they're looking for something to allow Freeze God to be able to get as much damage as he possibly can onto Renegades. And now Invokal's looking really, really low. Nice Flutter to make sure he gets in there, gets the kill, and then make sure that he leaves at least with 1 kill under his belt.
Knives connecting on the Cassie. Pounce will as well. Double roll to get her out to safety.
Oh my goodness.
The assassin is on the move. It's not enough. Ares stays calm under pressure, collects himself, and turns it around.
Yeah, that much is for sure. You already see the Dome Shield being down there. However, the Begone is so powerful, being able to force him all the way off that point through time and space, not finding a mark, not even really finding any hits. And in this case, they're going to body plug, but he gets killed by the shoulder bash. But they do manage to capitalize on Sadak. They get what they need to. Willow flying up just a little bit. She's the next one to go down. And now it looks like Renegades has a chance at being able to defend the payload push this round.
And you can just see how much damage reduction these Willows are picking up. 292 was how hard those knives are hitting, down from 400 per knife. So over 100 damage shaved off. Very effective.
Right.
Especially when you look at a character like Willow, the way you build around the Blast Flower talent, it's almost like how you build Bomb King, right? All of your damage is your left clicks. You throw out seedlings, sometimes they hit people, but it doesn't really matter if you never pressed Q that whole game. All that matters is your left click. So you're picking up stuff like extra HP. And we can take a look at this Willow loadout, because you look at other cards, I believe there's one that gives you 25% damage reduction, I think it is. And Freeze is only running it at level 4. But 3 seconds is a decent amount to get this buff. He can really go in there and just toe-to-toe with people. And that's all that matters. The longer he stays alive, the more left clicks he can get off. The more left clicks, the more damage, the more kills, yada yada, so on and so forth. You get the picture.
Yeah, much is for certain. Renegades really just trying to box him out here. Fights happening here and there. Skirmishes are breaking out. The overpower to come through. Manages to get Mitao. Nice overpower coming out from Moonchopper, which is going to be enough. He is battle shouting to make sure that he remains as invincible as he possibly can for that short amount of time. Doesn't want to take too much damage. But Shadow fighting a kill on the Freeze God. Now that's the start of something special.
There it is. A lot of poke damage. Ooh, and it's all going to find a home onto Ares as well. Sadak just barely gets out with the shoulder bash. More knives connecting, trying to dance around the shield. But Shadow has done such a good job finding routes to the backline and successful assassinations.
Yeah, they definitely have to make sure that they fly a little bit back down. Freeze God getting a lot of shots off, but I mean, Renegade's just getting more, almost burned him out completely with that Fae Flight being used. Luna was on the point, repositioning to make sure that Luna can really just stay on there, do what they can, as they're all pushing up as hard as they possibly can as well. Invocal getting healing here and there, backing up using the Lunar Leaf a lot to make sure that Moon at least is in a good spot, but they are currently pushing him. No kill yet, but a nice wall is definitely the start of how you want to start this.
Pretty good effective body blocking from Inara as well. Time and Space finds a home, and Vocal, take a seat, young man. Sadak finds Hero as well. And this is all the offensive fight, so not a ton lost for the Renegades. They still have a great chance at this round, and if anything, going back to spend their credits will be helpful to them. Once you capture the payload, you grab that 300. Nice little bump for everybody on the team, so it does wonders for your economy. As you can see, kind of heading into the later stages of the game here. I would say about 12 minutes is the average Paladins game, and then once you start to get upwards towards the 15, 17, even 20-minute mark sometimes, that's where that real hyper late game starts to come in. You start to see some wonky fourth slot items. And every single inch, this is a new meta thing, every inch has to be fought for on the map.
Right.
People will just continue to push you further and further back until there's no more map left to take.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw the shots it was the Freeze God was managing to land, just literally free firing with that fake flag, making sure you can rain hellfire down on the unsuspecting Renegades. In this case, Battle Shout all the way in the back. My goodness, he definitely wanted to find at least some type of kill in that case if he's diving that far back.
What do you think his plan was there?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it sort of looked like he was just inting at that point.
One goal in mind.
He definitely wanted a kill. I know that for sure. Battle Shout to get himself in there. Ends up dying as well. Shield gets dropped a little bit. Moonchopper finally gets the kill he was looking for only a few seconds ago. Commander's grabbed to make sure he throws him a little bit far back, but Richau does not go where he wants. Threw him right into IO, but Invocal ready to clap back, ready to make sure that he also puts up a fight as well, and he does net the kill on Richau.
Dumping all of this healing, and you might say, oh, he's at full health. What are you doing that for? Remember, Goddess Blessing provides damage reduction to the primary target that IO is healing, so yes, you're full HP, but if you go in there with a damage buff, or damage reduction buff, I should say, you'll be in an even better spot to use that HP effectively. It allows you to, have some downtime on your Earthen Guard, right? You have one source of damage reduction, and then IO can cover the cooldown.
Yeah, I do agree with that entirely. We do see that Mental's up here, really with the 3 time in space. The Kamehameha wasn't strong enough. The damage reduction that he had was just a little bit too much for them to deal with. We already see that Moonchopper. The rest of them are using their ults. If you ever wanted to think that Renegades wanted to close this one out, the Dome Shield is already used as well. Wall goes up. Lunas gets repositioned right behind Hero. Make sure that he lives just a little bit longer. Be gone immediately over into the wall, but it's not going to be enough to push them fully off of the map. It's going to push them into the wall to force them all the way back. Renegades literally used everything they had, and the first one to go down is Moonchopper.
I can't believe that. I mean, I've never seen a more concise, just 5 ults popping. Cauterize is still applied to the Sonara.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
so low. No healing is being received right now. Luna's the only one contesting the objective. And one by one, they all fall down. The Renegades went all in there and didn't move an inch.
I think this is when somebody will say, uh-oh.
That was surprising.
Yeah, it was, because they literally used everything. And the reason why I say you come into this saying, uh-oh, is because they have nothing anymore.
No, man.
They used literally everything. Overpower, I don't believe ended up hitting because it's at 37% right now. But that's, like, I digress
No, it
still.
did. It actually did, because I remember. They grabbed...
Right. You're right. You're entirely right. I don't remember if they grabbed Ares or Freeze God, but I remember it's one of the squishier targets in this case around that bin right there. But still, that they don't have anything. They used a lot. It found its targets, but it wasn't enough to finish them off. And with the overpower, with the scout as well, definitely have something going on here. Well, everybody currently standing still in this case. I believe that they are having a pause or at least some sort of issue in this case, but we will be right back into the game. However, once again, score is 3-3. It's a little bit unfortunate for the Renegades. I don't want to continually harp on that, but I mean, that has to be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it has to be something you talk about. I mean, the reason they went so hard for that is they get that free pick with the overpower, and then Dome Shield shuts it all down. I mean, Dome Shield's a great ultimate. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But shutting down the remaining 4 ultimates from the Renegades, it's kind of a tall task. It's a little bit surprising to say the least. And because Spacestation were able to defend so efficiently, they have so much to work with right now. And this is that 3-3 scenario. You don't want to give that ultimate economy advantage to your enemies if you can help it. But efficiency of these team fights, that's really been a defining factor for the Renegades on Splitstone Quarry. They did a phenomenal job there. Spacestation are showing that they know how to do it here on Brightmarsh as well. They've put themselves in a great spot for this final round.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be absolutely insane as well. The scout actually is coming through in this case, and the assert dominance not necessarily was used, but they definitely do have it. However, we are getting word that it was a little bit of a spectators issue in this case, that SSG did closing that one out. They did end up winning the game. It was a very, very brief moment where you guys saw a freeze right there. Unfortunately, we weren't able to really catch it, but SSG did end up winning that. Renegades is now 2-1 against them. They lost on Bright Marsh, and granted, I personally believe it will be due to something that we were literally just talking about, how the fact that they used everything. They had assert dominance. They had the scout still. I don't know what other ultimates it was they were actually able to build up, but having that survivability on Ashe with no counters in this case, that had to be rough.
A lot of value to be gained for sure. Space Station Gaming, again, they close it out there on Bright Marsh. Only one team fight really kind of left to decide it. And how quickly that happened, 1-2, Stefan, I think it was as simple as SSG pushed the advantage they knew they had. They knew every single Renegades ultimate was down because they all got used at the exact same time. Again, maybe a little bit too excited, jumped the gun. The Renegades, I think, not getting enough with what they spent.
Yeah, I mean, they had to really be surgical with how they decide to use those ultimates. I think you put it in a very perfect way. We did see it all used. They used it literally back to back to back to back. The overpower actually went through. It did connect, and because of that, they got a kill. But that was, in a sense, their artificial go button. They saw that they had an opportunity. They were like, okay, well, we got the kill. This is huge. We should really try and just center this one home. But the dome shield.
Maybe we should be gassing up Rochelle a little bit more. I mean, the dome shield that absorbed it all, 4 ultimates, and the mustache was just too powerful. Rochelle and Barrick, name a better duo. I'll wait.
I mean, in this case, the better duo, I believe, or the better team in this case for this map, Bright Marsh, was SSG. They are up 1 point, their first point of the set, but don't go anywhere yet. We'll be right back after this break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, SSG do it. They keep themselves alive, and they find their first win of Phase 2 as it comes through. The first map that they've been able to take, and it just happens to be Bright Marsh. So, Kresnik, I'm going to have to ask you, is that a surprise for them to be able to find a success on Bright Marsh?
I think with the way the drafts went, not really. Especially if it had been earlier, like if they had 4-0'd, I think I would have been surprised. But that was not a draft that scaled very well into the late game from the Renegades, I feel. Once Bulldozers, Cauterizers were online, double support does kind of not really have the same impact that it does when the game starts.
And that was actually, I think, one of the biggest things. I mean, we were talking about it coming into it. But Invocal playing IO, it's not something that we haven't seen before. He's done it before, but it's not exactly the number one go-to for DPS, and you can kind of see that. I mean, 48,000 was not batting anywhere near as much as you would normally expect out of him. 5 and 8, while the healing numbers were really good, he just couldn't keep up. I mean, that's one of the most negative games we've seen out of him, which, I mean, I guess is saying a lot for all of the other champions, but for this kind of instance, that is kind of the weak point. I mean, Shadow was 21 and 13. If you just had a little bit more from Invocal, this game goes a different way.
Yeah, definitely like a more... If they had even gone like a Pip and put Maeve on Invocal and something like that, if you really want that double support, that could have worked. But, I mean, SSG, they got that win, right? They have FRZ here now, able to play on this Willow who, I mean, he had a rough game on it before, but like I said, I think it really was just a symptom of the map, and this is a good sign. I mean, yes, it was a comp that I think was very, very good for them, but this is adaptation. This is something that we really have been wanting to see from SSG since they got here. And they're doing it. FRZ able to play this character that hasn't been seen play once in the entirety of Phase 1.
And I mean, it's been a good day for them, I think, to be able to adapt. Not a good day for them in terms of their win-loss
They don't
right
feel
now.
like it's a good day for them, I'm sure.
But I think, honestly, going forward with it, I mean, we're looking at it. The Torvald Fury, I'm pretty sure very similar bands, if not the same bands. I have a thing right in front of me. I can just click to tell you. The exact same bands from what they had when they played Stone Keep Map 3 against VP. And then Willow was the start, like that foot forward for them there, and it didn't work out as well. This time around, even though you have Shadow having a phenomenal performance on the Maeve, there wasn't anyone that was just shutting down Freeze God the entirety of the game, and so it kind of got out of hand as it went forward. And unfortunately, what we didn't get to see towards the end, just because of some technical issues, you can kind of extrapolate. They didn't have any of their ults on the Renegades. It's a comp that falls off the later the game goes on. Shadow, even though he was doing well, can't do it all.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels like the chips started stacking in SSG's favor.
Yeah, they just couldn't sustain at that point in the game. That's basically, I'll spell out the last mid few, that they just probably got walked all over. They tried to pull back and sustain, SSG kept up the aggression, and they weren't able to hold strong through it. That's what I'd expect from just how the numbers were looking and how the items ended up rounding out. I mean, iOS Fox couldn't cap the point with them. They had 3 different bulldozers on SSG. Luna's not living through anything with that amount of pressure.
So I guess there's multiple things to talk about. And I'm over here focusing on all the wrong things. First off, a nice haircut coming down from Ares. It's looking pretty good for him, as well as the blue hair there for Invocal. So, a very weird thing to zone in on. But I do like the fact that Renegades right now smiles. They're happy. They are not feeling negative about it, even though I cannot count the amount of times that we have seen a team go up 2-0 and then lose the next 4.
Yeah, it's definitely happened a lot. You need to keep that.
It's like the Knight's
mindset,
curse.
Yeah, the Knight's curse. Oh no, better than the SK curse. Because SK curse, you're always 1 away, right? You're 3-1, and then that comeback happens. But you have to keep that mentality. You really do. At that point in the game, you are down. You 1-2, you go down, and if you lose a momentum, if it flips back around, that's the easiest way to snowball it into that 4-2.
Well, hey, as it comes down to it, we will have the rest of the set coming to you, but we're trying to fix everything that went wrong. We don't want any point fights to disappear from any game, and so we are kind of fixing some things up behind the scenes, making sure everybody's set, everyone thinks good to go, so that we don't lose any of the fights for any of these games coming up. And because of that, we are going to take a quick break, but the PPL and this set will return right after this.
In the desert, see the moon through the humid air. Feel the groove deep in your blood, yeah. Yellow sunshine, baby, we don't care. All you need, you get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty. All you need to get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty. Don't we all, baby, feel the crowd like a massive heart, but it's all around. The way you move in the desert, see the moon through the cloudy breeze, feel the groove deep in our blood, yeah. Sweat is shiny, but we never freeze. All you need, you get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty. All you need, you get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty. All you need, you get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty. All you need, you get for free. If you stick with me, feel the blended heat. It's just a little liberty.
Welcome back, everyone. This time around, we made sure to dot our I's, cross our T's, and, well, hopefully everything should fully function going forward with this one. Knock on wood. This isn't made of wood, so that doesn't count. Someone out there do it for me. Either way, we'll be set. Just so you know, in the set, it's 2-1. Renegades right now are in the lead. The screen you were just watching said that, so I'll give a small little recap. Mainly, Brightmarsh was the one we just saw. It was a 4-3 for SSG. It came down to that last point fight. The question is whether or not they can kind of keep up that momentum. Now the Renegades are going to choose Stone Keep,
which is a map that they've found success in week one. Maybe not so much since, but clearly they're comfortable on this map. I know this was one of the first maps we saw Drogo's kind of as a force on for them, with Shadow piloting that, being able to apply a lot of pressure with that Worm Jets. And they're going to start with, it's pretty standard other than the Willow Flex Ban.
I'll be 100%. After the first two games, if you said someone in the rest of this set is going to ban Willow and told me that it was going to be Renegades, I would have said that you're bluffing. I would not have believed you. But they are the ones who are going to get rid of it. And as you mentioned, this is a map we've seen Drogos be very prominent on for Shadow. But you can't count out SSG. Freeze God not only very prominent on Drogos, but this is also one of those maps that it's not uncommon to see Bomb King on.
Yeah, but not as much, I would say.
Not
At least
anymore.
Not recently. Yeah, I mean, flankers have kind of filled in the blaster role a lot. Flankers tend to be played a lot more than the blasters. I mean, Willow obviously is an anomaly compared to that statement because she's really just kind of come in and been an absolute force since the changes to her. But we really just see it's usually just a direct damage and a flanker a lot of the time now. Maven Eevee getting through pretty much all the time, doing a very similar role. Inara Furia for SSG, I have a feeling they won't run Solar Blessing just because I don't feel like they're super comfortable on it, and Cherish definitely seems to be more in their wheelhouse for how they like to play the game. And Renegades Maeve, Barrack potentially. So Maeve very flexible. Barrack is really good. I mean, Barrack won. I think Barrack won every game in the Na'Vi Nip set.
And yeah, he was able to do that. He hasn't quite won every game this set, but he's really, really close. The only one that he hasn't succeeded in was game number 2. So I'll have to see if he can maybe turn that streak around, or, well, maybe end it right here and be up in the air. Ashe, Cassie, Furia, and Nara over here. So one flex pick left for SSG. And going back to what you said, that's not an uncommon spot to maybe see an Eevee get picked up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them get it. And I doubt it's going to be Renegades picking it up.
Yeah.
Just Maeve Eevee. Stone Keep isn't that bad on this map, I would say. I mean, double flanker could be okay, but you definitely want a more consistent backline, like a Leon or something, would I think be perfect to deal with a potential Drogoz pick from SSG. Yes, you can play it into the counter, but you need something, you know, because if you don't, then you just apply way less pressure to that Drogoz in general, should they choose to go that direction.
Well, they're still hovering right now, trying to figure out what last 2 picks they want to go. And we were talking about this earlier, but this is the time, specifically once it hits bank time, that Renegades are going to be spending, calculating anything and everything. What could that last pick be? What do we need to counter it? How do we counter it when we get into the game? What are we going to do if it does really well? Like, et cetera, et cetera. Anything, every option is being covered right there right now. Khan, Maeve, Barrack confirmed for them. They're hovering over the Drogoz. They lock him in as well, probably there for Shadow. And the Genos as well to give that nice little damage boost on top of the end.
If you told me that these drafts were on the wrong teams, I would believe you.
Yeah,
just
honestly.
look at Khan, Barrack, Maeve, Drogoz, Genos. Now
It's a good
imagine that in
SSG.
SSG's hands.
Yeah.
Inara, Furia, Cassie, Ashe. That feels like something that Renegades would play. So kind of flipped, I would say, in what they want. Going to end with that Leon double backline. Could be strong if they... This is definitely a low-ground church composition, 100%. I mean, they could try to take keep maybe map 1, but once ultimates are online, I think 100% they are playing outside, they are poking and prodding at every door and just trying to deny Hero that point pressure.
Now, how successful can a plan like that go? Like, it's one of those things. We've seen a ton of keep fights on Stone Keep. It's honestly probably the most contested point on any map, other than maybe Waterfall around Serpent Beach. But even then, you're not fighting for Waterfall; you're fighting for the ground behind it. But it's the high ground is notorious on this map. Do you think Renegades controlling that is going to give them a distinct advantage?
Absolutely. I think this map has evolved a lot recently, where you can kind of use the keep almost as a free surround setup. You just they go to the keep, they have it, lock out of every door. That's it. You won the mid as long as you keep that pressure up.
Well, we'll have to see if they can keep that pressure up. Otherwise, it might fall through their hands. But to do so, we have to go to Stone Keep. And, well, for that, we need to jump down to the casters and see their lovely faces.
Thank you very much, Gormizer. It was great seeing your lovely face on the desk, but now we're down in here. Dolson and Pretty Hair bringing you game 4 on Stone Keep. Gonna be a lot of fun. Renegades strike first. Good answer back there by SSG on a day where they're, struggling to find one win, even 1 point at that, for that matter, in set number 1. Good for them to at least get a win on the board as we dive down into Stone Keep here for game number 4. Renegades will look to bottle up a little bit of that lightning that they had earlier in this set and move 1 game closer. I guess this must be their 3rd or 4th win here, split number 2.
And here are the talents selected here. Everything fairly standard for the most part. We had a combustible Drogoz here on Stone Keep. That was very remarkable. Normally, combustible run exclusively on ice mines at this phase.
Did they win that one?
Drogos' life.
I'm trying to remember Stone Keep.
It was
so back and forth, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. I believe they did win it. It was the VP set, so 4-0 there, and crushing it at every turn. Renegades leaving themselves a little high and dry on Brightmar. Sorry to not bring you the conclusion, but the wrap-up thoughts there was Renegades pop every single ultimate to try and close the game. Don't, and then have nothing for the final team fight. But now to Stone Keep, hopefully they can reprimand some of those mistakes and have that foresight. That's something that NIP and Na'Vi did so well, is like realizing so far in advance, oh man, we have the advantage here in this situation. We can hit the go button and actually convert.
Well, a little game 3 hangover maybe for the Renegades, losing a couple members early on here. FRZ on the Leon this time around. Checkerboard kills back and forth, but Invocal gets the most recent. They're just going to stick for Chow on the point, let him get himself about 54% before he's forced off by Hero here, who's now dropping his own turret, setting up his own base as SSG start to move forward, look for a retake here. First round of ultimates, about halfway towards being charged. Hero, though, finds a pick on the Ares in that church side over there, really controlling it. Might even find a second with the help of Invocal, does just that. Just now getting close to countering out what SSG have on the point, but firmly in control positionally are the Renegades.
Well, 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 we have ourselves a set here, ladies and gentlemen. This one could still go either way, I feel, but SSG have the opportunity to get back here. Early overpower, man. Those
Poor Ares.
first wave of ultimates, so brutal to fight against for the team. That doesn't get them. Overtime is going to be started in favor of the Renegades.
Moonchopper just charging up so much, but I'm just gonna sit up high, free fire down on you, charge up my ultimate, and use it the moment it's up off of cooldown. That buys them a couple of points here. Jump into pause right on the back end of the Renegades, swinging first. See SSG have 4.5 of their ultimates ready to go there, but very controlling there from the Renegades. Once they were able to retake, honestly, what you saw out of Khan was similar. Like if you see a ruckus on this map, or even on Splitstone, if you think of that like lava side, let's just put you on kind of this ledge that overlooks everything, and if you can free fire down the entire time, we'll be better off for it. And Moonchopper gets that overpower. Poor Ares just wants to play the game. Gets picked off once, overpowered the second time. So this is a good look for the Renegades, starting to maybe get in the swing of things here after shake off Game 3, move into Game 4.
Definitely. We didn't get to see how clean that team fight was, but given how quickly Spectator had an issue to when the game ended, you have to imagine that went pretty swimmingly for SSG. So shows great resilience here for the Renegades to be able to bounce back quickly in the first round here on Stonekeep. This is their map selection. That's definitely worth noting. Dragon Punch is ready to go. Sadaka's ripped up, it looks like, almost out of his ultimate. Seismic crash. Things are starting to happen, and the kills are following.
Through time and space was the first thing to fly. Didn't find any kills this time around. A nice double kill from Invocal, though. Keeps the Renegades into this one. Hero around the back side. Barrack so impactful in our second set of the day. Looking for some similar impact here in our third and final set. A double kill does just that. Staggered respawns are going to allow the payload to inch ever closer. Minute 45 remaining as we round this next corner. Free firing from the high ground. Ares, yeah, he's had such a tough game. 0-4 up to this point. Picked off twice, Overpower being one of them early on, and he has just not been able to get involved. Invocal at 6-1-3, Hero at 4-0-4. Have just been all over the SSG backline.
Ooh, nice rockets there. Shadow knows where Sadak needs to retreat to. And unfortunately, he does just that, but retreats into death. 6-1 for Vocal. Shadow evens up his slash line at 2s across the board. Hero trying to emulate Lazy at 4-0. It's a long way to go to reach what Kevin was able to achieve on that character today. Shoulder bashing in now as Ash trying to stifle the aggression from the Renegades. Getting that long distance pick might be somewhat hard to do with a Drogos and a Maeve. Maybe it even has to come from Viral just laser beaming someone off the map.
I'm trying to remember, and this is kind of besides the point. I mean, sort of, you see where Shadow, when you're playing Worm Jets, kind of where you look to fly around on these final pushes. I'm trying to remember where, I guess Combustible was still kind of hanging up on that high ground, just looking for some of that cleave fire spit. But you don't do this so much. I mean, Shadow's really holding these high angles. I'm just trying to remember how Combustible even was played on this map.
Yeah, it was over pretty quickly, so it's hard to get a vibe of where exactly the best spot would have maybe been. Shoulder bash connects there. That's a lot of burst damage. That's 800 damage off of the dash and then 400 from the follow-up shot. Maeve doesn't even have 2,000 HP, so unless she's at full HP, she's pretty close to dead after that fact. Shadow's going to eat one to the face. Assert Dominance gets the up down as we head into overtime.
And Moonchopper finds that one. Sadakto takes that as a go button for the Assert Dominance. Normally you have to kind of wait and stall out and see if they're going to pull you out of it. Doesn't happen this time. Sadak finds one on his way out. Freeze God from the high ground. That's where Leon wants to play. Poking down Ares, though. He's going to catch a couple daggers here over time. Evaporating away. It's on to Moonchopper to get a touch. Not going to happen. A successful defense from SSG. They only expend the Assert Dominance and find themselves their first point.
Little consolation kill there to the back line for Invocal on the Maeve. Tough character to play. He's doing a good job so far. Making sure he moves around this map as quickly as possible. Missing the pounce there, but ultimately gets the job done. And part of Maeve is you have so many cooldowns to work with, so being able to get a lot done with a little. You don't want to have to burn all 4 of your cooldowns every single time to be able to get some type of kill in the fight. 7-2, though. Shows great efficiency so far. Shadow's gone diverted, I guess I should say, into Haven, whereas it looks like Invocal is trying to save for that Cauterize 3. He's going to sit on his 828 credits. Won't be at a huge advantage, but you look at SSG and their wallets and their economy, they're at about that same power level anyway, so no harm, no foul.
Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly, but is Haven just kind of the flavor of the day? I mean, is it normally bought this often?
It has been. I will give you that. It has been bought a lot today. This early.
It's been with Strix though, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of Strixes and a lot of Willow just like not needing an offensive item.
Yeah.
I feel she just
That's
goes.
true.
She goes over a lot of shields,
Right.
so doesn't need to go through in some instances. She just needs to stay alive and left click more.
And you know, that's the way it rolls sometimes. Pays off. Through time and space, baited out the Enlightenment just a moment ago from FRZ, who ended up dying off of the end of it anyway, and Renegades really controlling this high ground very well. I mean, I pointed out this is where Moonchopper wants to hang out, and he's doing just that. Runs down one final kill here. Still a couple ultimates ready for SSG. The very impactful, potentially impactful seismic crash, but watch out for that overpower from Moonchopper as we get into these final seconds.
Both frontliners from SSG looking to bully him off of the high ground. They do so successfully, but at what cost? Taking a lot of damage on the way up there. Don't even get a foot on the payload. Renegades will go back on the offense in round 2.
I was wondering where Sadak was. He ended up getting overpowered by Moonchopper, who saved it to the final possible moment, and it pays off this time. Ares able to dodge roll his way out of that one, stays alive. The wailing siren of low health has rung in his ears maybe one too many times this game, but is able to stay alive this time. Holding on to the Dragon Punch and the Midnight as well, especially with where the payload is, could move very, very quickly.
150 on the clock to get her done, and already making great progress. FRC got Beaming Hero off of the map, and Shadow, because of that, immediately canceling the Dragon Punch. That looked like a fight that was about to break out, but times change, I suppose. Nice little double presence there. Still getting the insta reset. Still love to see that with Leon. Such a fun loadout to goof around with. And a critical member of this SSG lineup getting them that critical kill that skunked the Renegades' momentum.
And I guess in that case, if you're Shadow, you're saying, you know, I'll get a pick, but the rest of my team's not going to fight.
There it is.
So I'm just going to back off, reset my cooldown to 30. It's already back to 70 now. It's actually maybe better off for him, almost up to 80 here. The pick's starting to roll through. 3 down for SSG. Only 2 up left alive. Cassie, or Ares I should say, and Mitau holding up that high ground. There will be one more wave of respawns for Space Station.
Wow.
3 ultimates ready to go. How much do you want to expend trying to prevent it from becoming 3-1? That's the question. So they could easily make it 3-2 with their ultimates on the next mid. One pick maybe changes this one around. Shadow very low. Inflame, though, that's going to be the gas pedal they need. They're going to look for some sort of presence on this back one, but Ares immediately has to dodge roll backwards. Invocal with the lone kill for the Renegades here. Enlightenment, a little bit of icing on the cake. Double kill for Mitau, 1 for Freeze God. Double kill make that, but still 30 seconds left. In Inflame, Enlightenment, both burned.
Pretty quick charging if you look at Inflame, as it's already back to halfway crazy. I imagine he's shutting some type of kill streak down to. I mean, it's fast, but not that fast. Like that tells me he had to shut down somebody's kill streak there. He gets a double kill in that fight as well. Obviously, Leon getting a killing blow resets her to 50%. So very nice use of the resources there from Space Station Gaming as we head into overtime. There's contest. There will be an overtime. Is this the pick? Sadak gets back to spawn, but Shadow's not had enough.
Sprays the wall on his way through time and space from Viral. Picks off the opposing healer. Space Station Gamer going to have to make do with 8 seconds left, but Shadow immediately trades out as well, and Vocal pulls things back in favor of the blue side just a little bit, inching ever closer. Is this payload? Assert Dominance is ready from Sadak. It's going to go up. It's going to get Void Gripped out and be able to kill him off. Doesn't end up dropping down, but he's out of range, and the payload rolls right on through.
See, the thing about Assert Dominance is just at face value, it has enough height to take you out of contest range. When you get gripped up there and you try to go for it again, you're getting gripped out of contest range, and then you double your height. It just takes you so long to get up and back down. Unfortunate oversight, if you want to call it that. Pardon the pun. Sadak is 4-9 on the day. Still gets to keep that ultimate, I guess. It's silver linings at that point. But a lot of ultimates held back from Space Station. Shadow even canceled his Dragon Punch. It ended up working out for them, but given how deep he was, man, I figured probably just try to land that anyway.
Yeah.
If you're going to be, again, hindsight, but you're going to be dead most likely either
Right.
way. You've already kind of passed the point of no return.
True.
You could always be better.
Right, you're right. There's always improvements to be made. Overpower connects for Moonchopper. Mitau again. You can't play this game through time and space. Last time, Overpower this time. Sadak feeling okay about trying to trade out with Invoke on the back line there. Shoulder Bash is going to get him out to safety. SSG and these little intermittent skirmishes were able to get about 62% already on this midpoint. Fast Cap at their back, propelling them forward. Renegades regaining control of this mid area, just now stepping onto the point, making sure to play this one carefully. One final mid fight could win them this game, and Flame, though, from Space Station, they're throwing everything at the wall now, trying to prevent this one from going in. Sadak, no more assert dominance from him, and Vocal rounds the
Nice
corner,
juke.
finds the kill. Moonchopper as well gets involved. That's a double kill from the Maeve. Almost 3, but it's a double kill for the Khan instead, and the Renegades can zone and win this game.
Nice movement there. Enlightenment at the pro level is very, very hard to dodge, especially
Yep.
at that range. Well done by Invoco being quick enough. I mean, he's one of the faster mechanical players I think we've got in the league. 75 and climbing for the Renegades. Comeback mechanic for SSG, but they are down to the wire with not a resource left, Dave.
One final chance, and Sadak goes through. Viral again, hits Mitau. He's not been able to have any fun towards the end of this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, like dominoes, SSG fall, and Renegades move to within 1 of ending this set.
That's pretty much it, man.
Oh,
I mean,
my.
on Bright Marsh, it was a close one there with Renegades trying out IO, trying some new things maybe. This one feels wrapped up for them. If they're just kind of doing what they do, you know what I mean, going to their strong suit, as long as they don't goof up in that draft, I think this one's going to be about all wrapped up.
Yeah, they're looking clean today. This is a good bounce back from the Renegades. I mean, if you look at their split two, roaring start from them. They take out Na'Vi. Couple tough games after that. I mean, you know, SSG, maybe some asterisks on this, just moving in, not a lot of practice time, but it's still SSG. These are some star-studded players for sure, and the Renegades playing very, very well today.
Definitely, man. The Renegades have looked super solid. Again, I don't want to go too hard on SSG today, and I don't want them to go too hard on themselves
shouldn't.
either. I
They
think
shouldn't.
they said it. That's part of setting realistic expectation, right? They're not going to get too beat up about these.
No, I think that's the right way to look at things, but nonetheless, Renegades up 3-1. Like I said, one game away from sealing up this day and sealing up one of their maybe 3-4 wins here in the second phase of the PPL right after this.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
Well, they managed to pull themselves ahead, Renegades, as they are slowly but surely potentially clawing their ways to finding more wins, well, and just this split than they got in the first split. They've already done so since they're up 3 now with their wins. They only found 1 during that first split, but this week so far, again, is working for them. Stone Keep was very, very solid.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they played the keep fight, I think, pretty well. Normally, I think I would give the advantage to the team that plays outside, at least recently, but they played it really well. They found their openings, they found their poke. They really shut down, I feel the backlines. I mean, Ares got stuck doing less damage than Sadak. They really did control what they needed to.
We have to talk about it. 104,000. The next highest is about 5,000 behind him, 99,905 for Freeze God, but not a lot of people coming anywhere near the 18, 3, and 17 in Vocal. You've got some good slash lines on this team. 4-1 and 29 there for Viral. 8-4 and 19 up there for Hero. 6-3 and 20, I think, needs to be shouted out for Moonchopper since he has been very polarizing. But it really is the Mave. It really was the Mave that came through. I mean, a lot of moments where he's just the driving factor.
Yeah, he really was just finding all these kills. I mean, Shadow was taking a lot of pressure, which kind of led to his 8 and 7 line. But, I mean, in Vocal's, I want to say mastery of this character by this point is crazy to watch. I mean, we saw in that final fight with how he was juking around the Enlightenment from FRZ. He's connecting so many daggers so consistently. That Cat Burglar damage boost, you really have to be almost perfect to make it work at the level that Invoke was making it work at. I mean, when you don't miss the 4 daggers after your Prowl, it's why it's such a good legendary, stacking with that Luminary boost.
And honestly, I just in those replays, granted they were highlights for him, but you don't typically see someone hitting that many Mave shots without missing. And it is, interesting to see him. He's changed it all. The hair a little bit blue. So the thing we always do the rock monkey eyebrows, like when he gets super zoned in, he leans a little further forward. What do you think his vision of the screen is like? I
Probably
genuinely
similar
want
to
know.
mine.
It's a little like
there's definitely
just
hair
a
in the
little
way,
fuzzy.
but when you're focusing, it's basically gone. Like you don't notice it anymore.
And when he turns his head, you can see the peak of a bandana. It's not holding up his hair, so I don't know.
I think it kind of is, just like a little bit out of
It's
his
holding
eyes.
it up so it does this instead. Either way,
Yeah.
it's looking good for him in game, whether or not
For
he
sure.
can see. If it's fuzzy or not, who cares? Because he's finding the kills. He's setting himself up, and he's still having a stellar game. Io is the only one that's kind of been the chip on his shoulder. And now Renegades, as much as it is, you can look at SSG, it's an unfortunate start for them coming back in, but it's not something they didn't expect. They've talked about this. This, however, is a good start and a good run for Renegades right now. They really need to rack up wins. There's not much they can do to leave 8th place, but there's a lot they can do to mess up everybody else who's looking to be in the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. And they can prep. They can get used to how these teams are playing. If they get wins on teams during this time, that's also a mental block gone for when that bigger tournament comes up, right? When the qualifiers start, you play a team you've never beaten before. Just mentally, once you're on the precipice of pulling it off, it's harder. Your team will panic more. It's the first time it's happened. And if RNG can overcome that a few times until that moment, it's going to make things a lot easier for them.
And that has been, I think the thing we always highlight the most for them is the Renegades choke when it's just, they are so close to being able to find success in a 3-1, 3-2-esque scenario.
No one on
And
the team was on SK, right?
then they just get
in Vocal.
pushed the limit. I mean, the last time these two played, specifically Week 13 of Phase 1, SSG was the team that was in the lead. They were up 3-1, and that's when we saw, specifically Shadow on your screen there, just blow them out of the park for 2 games. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, I was there.
And then we got to, that final map, that Jaguar Falls, and it came down to a Slippery Sadak that made the big difference. So far, Slippery or not, hasn't been making as big a difference today overall. We've seen a lot of performance out of Hero as well as in Vocal and Shadow. So I expect to kind of see this come up and keep on the up and up for them.
Yeah, this is definitely a more resilient Renegades. I feel that they haven't lost too many games in this situation, right? Their losses have mostly been very dominant. Am I wrong about that?
No.
This phase so far, it's been very dominant, or if it's been contested, they've run away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're a team that now they have that clutch factor. They've gotten those wins. I mean, they've beaten Na'Vi. They could just say that if they start worrying, like, guys are about to beat SSG. Yeah, well, we beat Na'Vi too. Oh. And then it just calms themselves down, kind of levels them out. Starting to the draft, though, SSG kind of picking out Mave as the problem for the last map, and I think you would too, after an 18-3 performance from Invocal. Con Willow coming in for Renegades, and they still think that Willow is going to be a weakness for them, and I don't think they're wrong.
Definitely an interesting playstyle to switch to as well. I mean, Ascension Peak, just as a map, is worth mentioning because we don't get to see it too often. It gets banned out by some of these teams, NIP specifically. Actually, Renegades in the past have banned this out as well. But coming in here, it's a different style. It's a different kind of capture. It's a different push. Everything about this map feels slightly awkward, and you are making at first seemed disgusted, but now confused face about this Ruckus.
Well, it's a very dive comp. They are going in. I mean, Ashe, Ruckus, Brandon B. Rochelle on the Ashe for
also,
sure.
they can still get Cassie.
They could, but no, they banned Cassie.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they banned Cassie, so they're going Shaolin instead.
She doesn't belong down there, Kresnik. That's why I'm confused.
It looks a little weird. It does look a little weird. I don't blame you for that one, but they're hopping back and forth between them, and I think they would go Sha over Leon here. Leon might be better to deal with the Willow, but what Shaolin brings is the Ruckus counter gone. By picking up Sha, now that's not going to fall into Renegades' hands to deal with the Ruckus. Not that it's a hard counter, but Ruckus is definitely much stronger into Leon than he is into Shaolin.
Yeah, and being able to sustain and live through this is probably going to be, well, the make or break for presumably Sadak on that Ruckus.
Yeah.
As they're looking to figure out what they want to lock in. Moonchopper seems way more serious than what Viral. Viral had a huge smile on his face. He's laughing, and I'm sure they're excited. Whatever Invocal wants here, well, Invocal will get, and I can guarantee is going to be dangerous. But Strix, snipers on this map, Strix was never really the go-to for it. How do you feel about, I mean, either him or Kinessa?
I think Strix has just seen prominence because of those stealth changes. Now, if they dive and he stealths away, maybe he'll run Nocturnal. It's a lot harder for them to find him. They're just not going to be able to get that same amount of damage and pressure they would. He can also delay the point a lot since the point is so wide and easy to contest in those crazy situations. If you're trying to find a Strix on the Ascension peak point, you're going to be doing it for quite a while.
A needle in the haystack.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be hard, just looking for those damage numbers, and then he'll just move with Tactical Retreat, make it even harder to kind of follow up on where he is. So it'd be an interesting pick if they decide to go for it. Oh, okay, the second chance to decide to go again. It's going to be interesting, but I think it'll work. I think it has a lot of potential.
It's definitely the one that, well, it has more question marks around it than any of the other picks, but it, like you said, can still work. We also saw, I mean, you roll it back. Granted, it was minor league, but he can contest a point pretty safely as well. Just tuck away in a corner, go stealth, and just pray.
I can't believe they didn't check that corner. Of all the places to check for someone contesting on Serpent Beach, like in the corner next to the payload, that's priority number one for me. But Renegades, I think the Strix has potential. They have to keep them off of him. They can't let them pressure Invocal on it at all. And the Willow could be a good way to do that. If you try to rush Invocal and he just delays you, but you're Fae flighting on top of him, that you're not going to make that dive work at all.
Well, I expect to see him hovering around the same point on this map that you would if you are on Frozen Guard, but we're not on Frozen Guard. It's Ascension Peak. Let's go down, see if SSG can stay alive.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. If Renegades are going to have anything to say about it, this one will be over right here, right now. Ascension Peak, Game 5. The map pool for Strix has seemingly been ever-growing, Nick. I mean, I don't know what maps he can't be played on now, but we've seen him a good bit today. Bazaar, notably Serpent Beach a little bit, and now Ascension Peak. I do agree, though. I think this is a map where he certainly can work.
For me, kind of like Maeve, it's like the more you can really connect those shots, the more effective the character can be. And we saw how snappy those burst combinations with unauthorized use was for Mutu. I truly do hold Invocal in kind of the same mechanical regard as Mutu. I think they are two of the meanest players out there in the league in terms of just putting the crosshair on the head and left-clicking. So for him to be able to rock this with confidence, I think that's all it comes down to. When you're not caring so much about the layout of the map and you are literally that confident about your ability to rock and roll with it, that's when you look really scary.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I agree. Helps when you have a guy on con.
Yo, 6
starting
dive
everything off
composition,
with,
by the way.
yeah, apparently. You wouldn't picture that with Strix, but with Moonchopper and Hero running down the rest of the lineup, Renegades find themselves, well, I'm not going to do whatever -9, but I'll say 50% out in the lead here, rounding this final corner. Ares on the Shaolin, that's an interesting thing we'll have to kind of check in with periodically throughout this match. Not something super used to seeing. I think that was Sadak able to rocket his way up onto the platform?
Yeah, I was
mid-commander's
thinking
grab.
about that for a second as well. That was a little bit weird, but yeah, you get released from the hard CC after a small amount of time, and Sadak can kind of choose what direction he wants to go after that fact. But it is going to be a capture nonetheless for the Renegades. Flashbang is ready to go, and it is the first ultimate to be charged by a country mile. So Invocal shots are connecting with gusto in this first round. The confidence has paid off. Snipers were definitely a first, kind of a thing that we were used to seeing on Ascension Peak. Fell a little bit out of favor later on I think, the meta kind of shifts and characters are definitely going to come and go, but it has been very notable just to see the resurgence of Strix today.
Oh, and I love it. I mean, you watch a good rotation of Strix clips, nothing quite like it.
That was one of your first favorites, right?
That's right. It's still one of my better champions, just because I can kind of snap and shoot, and everything else goes by the wayside in those moments.
I'm a man of simple tastes.
I'm not going to throw myself into that vocal conversation, but me and my ranked
But
games,
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I might look like vocal to some of my ranked teammates, but we're going to ignore my rank for the purpose of this conversation. Shadow and Moonchopper combined for a couple here. Good start to this defense, though, for Space Station Gaming, trading out back and forth. What are your thoughts on Shaolin? I know they were able to dig their teeth into him just a little bit, but not somebody. Now we're seeing him less than Strix on some of these interesting maps.
Shaolin was picked up for a little bit when Eevee was like super, super high priority. For the most part, because that was a little hasty. For the most part, because Explosive Arrow was like a really good burst option to be able to just get a quick Explosive Arrow and then a single planted shot onto Eevee to deal with her.
Right.
In this instance, they broke down how, and the more I talk about Ruckus matchups, it's like, what is this not true for? But everybody can just connect everything onto Ruckus. At a pro level, nobody's missing Ruckus. Planet is some of the highest single target DPS in the game, so you factor in an easy target, and it's a simple math equation beyond that.
Yep. I think it has its merits. Sadak using the Hexifier just a moment ago. Lots of it into one particular doorway, only some of it to the enemy that was flooding through it. Moonchopper gets a kill here. You hear Planted ringing out in the back line, but that means Invocal's free and clear to line up that quick scope. 1 second remaining. Nobody in range to contest Hero. I saved myself on that one. Hero moving this payload forward. Moonchopper's got the kill in the back line. Going to get another one onto Midtow here with one more volley of shots. Rest of his team fighting forward here. I think it was FRZ that was holding up the rest of the team. He probably realized he would be okay to contest there on his own. So one last chance here for the Renegades to try to make this one 2-0. Got some ultimates to boot. SSG on the opposite side, they got almost nothing except for Midnight and Heat Haze, but everything else about 50%.
This would be a really impressive feat if the they have the resources to do it too. That's the thing. If they can get this going early enough and maintain momentum, they lose Invocal here, so now things are starting to get a little scary. But there is a chance they could convert this.
Yes, that's what I want to see. Sadak gets the fadeaway shots onto Shadow, but Hero up in the front line gets Ares yet again. Still about halfway there. Heat Haze ready. 50% on the rest. And this is important to take with a grain of salt. You're always very good about pointing this out. I mean, Renegades have a 5-2 advantage ultimate-wise, but they have no idea what the other team has up. They're purely using them in the moments that they think are correct, regardless of anything else. And one kill onto Hero is enough to displace, and that overtime evaporates.
Dang it. It's like the Impaler arrow ends the round. Oh! How can we have not seen this coming? Yeah. These overtimes, when they go on for that long, they can end comedically fast. I mean, there's really no even time to react there. Ruckus today, man. They're getting away with it for sure. Crunchy's back in the league.
Yeah.
And he is one of the more OG Ruckus players. Rubu and Phoenix, obviously, in that conversation. But neither of those guys are playing a ton of it. Sadak definitely toyed with the Terminus in Phase 1, toyed with the Ruckus. Trying to find a home for one of his oldest and most favorite characters.
Yeah.
Fun dude, because the character has just not been changed forever. Like, it has been so long since balance adjustments came to Ruckus, but he still finds a way to kind of weasel his way in or out. His kit's pretty simple. It's a lot of damage and some mitigation. So it's like, it's either enough of those things for him to be viable or not enough. Kind of like Buck.
Right. Death by 1,000 paper cuts, as I like to put a good stun into the back of Ares. Be stealthed up here. 2 more volleys now maybe is all he needs, but playing behind that pillar very well. And Vocal in the meantime in the back line finds a nice double snapshot. Still has flashbang. Everything else through time and space still ready. Assert dominance still ready to try to weasel their way back into this one. But everything else gets used there. The volley of ultimates rings true. One more shot maybe for Space Station Gaming to try to get back into this one.
And in comes Ash up over the top, stunned out.
Oh!
What was that?
Oh no! Was that like a sneaky commander's grab or something on the way through? It couldn't have been, right?
Know.
I'm not sure. At any rate, Mitau.
It had to be.
I guess
That's
it must
That's
have
the
been
only thing.
the drive-by commander's grabber
Seismic
or
Crash is
something.
the only other stun on that team, and
But I
it
think
was
they
down.
used it. Yeah,
it
they
was
used
down.
it on Ares. No
Yeah.
idea. Not sure.
Had to be commander's grab.
That's my guess. Good body block on the shoulder bash there.
Because he didn't. Yeah, look, it didn't take the charge either.
Yeah.
Weird. Weird interaction. Sometimes that happens when you're moving with violence, speed, and momentum. Who knows what'll happen?
Three cornerstones to live by, surely. And Renegades are doing it here. Up 2-1, 2 points away from ending this set, grabbing themselves another win over SSG nonetheless. By the end of this, they may have added another Titan in the win column for themselves. The likes of Na'Vi. Rashad will look to do his best to put
Can't
the end of
play
that one.
here,
A couple
dude.
got knocked off the side there. All the violent speed momentum's headed right down to the bottom of the map column off to the side there. Moonchopper at 11-2 and 14. I got to tip my cap to him. He's had a great day so far. You know, he's been such an up and down player, but today is certainly one of the ups.
Had to make the off-season adjustment into one of the hardest roles to play this season. So definitely good for the old confidence. Doing a lot of the IGLing, picks and banning, all that type of good stuff for the game or for the Renegades. A lot of weight on his shoulders, man. It's not playing an easy position. He's got a big role within the team. Certainly credit where credit is due. Moonchopper, a valuable, valuable asset for this Renegade squadron.
Absolutely. Look to continue that. More kills, more assists, no more deaths for him, hopefully. No overpower just yet. Flashbang will soon be ready through time and space. Consider that one up for Spacestation Gaming. It's an important defense to avoid going down 3-1. And Flame, though, for the Renegades, they're going to look to do just that. Shadow falls right off the bat. So much of that aerial presence now gone, but Hero getting rid of Ares adds a little bit of extra flavor to this one. Assert Dominance does end up landing up onto the high ground, and Vocal staying alive, staying safe in the back line. As Freeze God looks to continue his aggression here. A double kill for Invocal. He's had such a heavy impact on all these fights. If anyone's questioning Strix on this map, you shouldn't be questioning it when Invocal's piloting it, at least.
Man, I don't know how Mitau got the kill on the Invocal either. That must have been he must have been low HP or something. That Star Splitter doesn't do so great damage from a long distance away. Love this skin, by the way. God, so clean, so mean. Pushing up now into Ruckus. You can see those are the quick scopes that we were talking about. When you can line up the center of your screen pre-scope, you really just need the scope in as a formality to get your accuracy dialed in there. But he is so quick off the gun when you can get it like that.
That man has spent his hours on Rust getting those quick scopes.
Yes.
Nice and ready. Double kill for Shadow, gets this one ever so close. Sadak falls, no more frontline for Space Station Gaming. No more time left on defense. As Renegades pull to 1 point away from sealing up this set.
And not a lot looks like it can be done to stop them when they kind of get rolling. You know, with Fae Flight being something to really look at, Strix at face value being something you have to acknowledge. And we talked a lot about Cassie's band. Shaolin was picked away. All around this this Ruckus matchup, that replay and the final kill we saw onto Ruckus is pretty decent evidence that Strix is kind of fine in that matchup. Granted, he's getting the jump, but if the difference in winning or losing the matchups is like kind of getting that just slight initial like half a second jump, it's not too convincing of a matchup anyway, in my opinion.
Not nearly as much Haven as we're used to seeing. Well, I say used to seeing as if we have a large sample size. Na'Vi, or NIP rather, we're selling all out for all their Haven in our last set. Only one for SSG this time around. Couple ultimates ready to go here. In Flame for the Renegades already back up. They used it to try to push on the gas towards the end of the last round. Overpower as well onto Ares, puts them in a great position here. 39% for SSG, 1 kill. Onto the Shaolin, gives Renegades, if nothing else, a good positional advantage. Answering back, though, with the Midnight is now Freeze God, who's going to look to push the back line through time and space. Not connecting here. Moonchopper stays alive under the duress of a Maeve. Ever so important as Invocal trades out one more.
54% gain for the Renegades. Comeback mechanic. The snipes just won't miss today. He is absolutely cracking this Ruckus. Sadak took a really kind of risky scenic route flank, and it just didn't pay off, Dave. And
look at the point.
That might be enough to wind it down.
They're holding Freeze God off onto the back line. He's so focused on trying to drop off Shadow, he's not in here and fighting. Nobody, or at least a contested point, I should say, here in the middle as Invocal drops one more flare into the back of Rashao. Losing your frontliners does not spell success. Down goes Freeze. Rachao is the next to fall. No more front lines for Space Station Gaming. And it looks like it's all but a formality as Inflame for the second time in this mid-fight seals it up, and the Renegades find their win.
Well done, man. I mean, when you kind of get a sense for how good these top Premier League teams are to sometimes make the Renegades, look as bad as they have in the past.
Yeah.
In combination with the fact how fast this league moves. I mean, Space Station Gaming was the true, number 4 seed in the league last phase.
True.
They had some great showings against some of the top teams, and in just a couple of months, you've got the Renegades confidently defeating them. I mean, what a change from Phase 1 to Phase 2. Paladins, I think due to this LAN league and how high the competition is year-round with all of the best players here in the studio, the game has never progressed so fast, man. The meta is just evolving so rapidly with the least amount of balance changes we've ever done in a year. That's been like the philosophy change of slow down the balance changes and let the players decide the meta and see how they adapt, see how they evolve rather than, knee-jerking to certain things, this and that and the other. And I think that has, panned out really nicely. We've had a great season so far.
No, I know. I love watching it. Still a few weeks to go. We're on the downhill swing towards HRX, but plenty of movement still to go in the standings, starting with a Renegades win today over SSG. Let's send it back to the desk and hear what they're thinking.
Not just starting with Renegades getting a win today, but SSG taking a loss and the shuffle that means for, again, the top end of it. Any of these teams you're looking to make it into the top 4, it's an auto qualifier for Hi-Rez Expo. And Renegades is the team that can play upset. The more they win, the more it causes some turmoil up there. And a win here is incredible for them. Again, now 4 going to be stacking it up. And being able to take SSG, and yes, you can take it with the caveat SSG hasn't been able to practice as much, et cetera, et cetera. We've mentioned it all day.
Yeah.
They just played well.
They did,
from top to bottom, they played really well as the Renegades.
Yeah, I felt like they were focusing the right targets. I think their play on that last mid was pretty good. They were waiting long enough for the dive to come in from SSG because that was clearly their intention. I mean, just looking at their composition, FRZ did top the damage charts, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what the SSG comp was going to do, right? Go in, get damage, die. And Renegades were the ones who were still standing at the end of the dive.
I mean, we talk about Invocal and Shadow a lot when it comes down to it, but this one, much like one of the games earlier on, was kind of one on a different front. You can actually look at the max streaks on the side. 14 there for Hero, 18 there for Moonchopper being able to come through. And that's the biggest thing about it, is these front lines, when they show up, it is a different story. 12, 3, 14 there for Hero, 11, 2, and 25 for Moonchopper. I mean, he had a hand in almost everything.
He out-assisted Viral. He got more assists than his support did, and that's impressive.
That's really impressive, actually.
Yeah, and it's part of the way the composition works, right? They can stall them out and let them get through, but Hero and Moon, once they pass them, if they're the ones getting the kills at the end, I mean, that's all that matters, right? If they get more kills on the dives than SSG is, then their plan's completely fallen apart. And Hero and Moon were always in the right place, I feel, to get those kills.
And Hero kind of commanding the objective is another thing I think that has, again, something that in some sets will be completely void. And in this set, he was there the entire time. It was on the entire time as well. And it's just that presence. I mean, a lot of these, you see him, just the chip damage, 225, does add up as time goes on, 675 if he connects all 3.
That's more damage than Makoa.
Where he's putting those shots, where he's connecting with them, and kind of, I guess, the target switching for the team is what is truly making the difference and kind of the choice factor, I think, for Renegades being able to find as much control.
That's also part of Moon taking that leadership role, Clear comms gives them the chance to get that focus fire, know what ultimates to use and all that, and I think that was showing in full effect today.
Yeah, well, hey, all 5 of them did incredibly well, but 2 that shone maybe slightly brighter than the rest throughout that entire set were Hero and Shadow, and we actually have both of them standing by to see how they feel after getting their 4th win in the PPL.
Well, contrary to what Gormizer says, we do have Hero and Shadow sitting by in the victor's chairs one more time here in our second split. Big shout-outs to everyone, honestly, the entire team today, seemingly playing very well. 4-1 win for you guys. Moonchopper on the cast, I was giving you a bit of a shout-out. I want to hear some of your thoughts. Today was I don't want to say frontline-dominated day, but it was a day where the frontliners had such an impact on all of our games. In the last game there on Ascension Peak for you, awesome game, great slash lines, great KDA top to bottom. Is this just a better mentality, or what really allows you to play that way? It's sort of a broad question, but how are you feeling today that allowed that performance to come out?
Okay, so I'm Hero, but if it was intended for me, I think we just came in after like rough weeks of practice, like hour-wise, and we just like came in and like showed up on game day. I think is what it was.
I want to know a little bit more about this IO, and was this just goofing around? Was there merit to this? And Vocal on IO is definitely new. I mean, anybody on IO would have been pretty new at this point, but just your guys' thoughts on that strategy and how that game went.
Vocal on IO is definitely something that we've been planning on doing. Like you saw it like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and he's been grinding that character as soon as like it was available, and it's definitely a strat that we intended, and it's definitely something we've done before in scrims.
Gotcha. Shadow, as a DPS player, we've seen a lot of Strix today, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on why you thought this character might be making a little bit of a resurgence, and is this something you guys might be looking to lean a little bit more on? Because Invocal looked pretty damn good on it today.
Right. I mean, Vocal is probably one of the best aimers. Literally, he's insane. So, I mean, the way I see Strix is like he's a super counterflank, and he's really good at like getting out of like aggressive situations. I mean, he's a stealth sniper. He'll always get the first shot off in an engagement, and so like that is so crucial with these like aggressive comps, really. And we really focus on having playing angles where Invocal will get LOS of us. So if they try like at one point they were diving us completely, and just Invocal gets the free fire over and over, and it's just free picks and just free damage. It's
right.
pretty great.
When he's getting picks and stuff like that, how important it is for you to play off of that? Like if you're on an Eevee or something, how much do you rely on like him setting up kills like that? Does he call out every target that he's hitting, and are you constantly listening, or are you kind of off by yourself looking for something on your own?
It's a bit of both. It's like a hybrid, but for the most part, I will mainly try to focus off what Invocal is hitting, because he's always gonna hit his shots, right? And
True.
so I know that's like, I know when he's like when he's shooting, I know it's always hitting. So I'll always look at what he's trying to hit, and especially like if you saw on Switchstone, I was playing Willow, he was playing Strix. He had the fire angle completely like shut down. I didn't even look at fire. I didn't care about fire most parts. I was just poking point because I knew he had my back. That's like, I trust him completely. And it'll show.
And that's a great way to be, guys. Again, congratulations on a pretty damn clean win today. You guys escape just 4-1 here over SSG. That does it for us today, guys, though. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to get it back to the desk and close out the day.
Well, an impressive 4-1 at that. A very good showing from the Renegades today is going to be able to kind of close this triple header out. I almost called it a double header. Triple header out for SSG. Unfortunately, they only won a single map out of their 2-set day, but no, as it turns out, they do still have another one tomorrow. But first, let's look back at what exactly we got to see. If you were here very early, you might have missed it, honestly. Blink and you missed it. The 4-0 from Virtus.pro was a very quick win. A nice lengthy 4-3 between Na'Vi and NIP, although very decisive maps throughout that 7-game set. And then the 4-1 that we just witnessed. Admittedly, match of the day has to be Na'Vi versus NIP. It was very good. Scrim partners playing each other is always one of the most interesting things you can see.
Especially when you see the depth of how much they figured each other out. You know, just the way the drafts changed as the game went on. If you have to watch one game from today, it's absolutely that one.
Well, you can also see maybe how the standings get shaken up. Because it's a 4-3, there is a slight shift. I mean, only 3 maps here that separate NIP and Na'Vi. Both 14 and 6 now. And while you might look down there and see the -49 again, you're not crawling out from 8th. You are messing with everything above it. Look where SSG have ended up. They're 5th, which is where they started today because of Virtus.pro's prowess, but 9 maps to 3 maps. Granted, there's going to be quite a few sets difference between the two, but you're looking to break into this top 4. Virtus.pro have been the team to beat right now since they have beaten everyone above them, but they are still sitting at 4th in the standings. So that's kind of where the shakeup is going to be coming. And it really does come down. I mean, that #1 spot is up for grabs. NIP have been sitting up there pretty since week 1, and the potential for someone to disrupt that is a first for this year.
Yeah, I mean the decline of NIP too. I mean, they had 2 losses after the end of the first phase, and 6 now. So they definitely need to do something to fix up how that has been going for them, because I mean, it's been rough.
Today was the closest they had been in a while. We'll have to see them, though, in the future. Tomorrow, they won't be playing. We have Envy coming in with the Knights. Virtus Pro will go up against Kanga, who they had noted in their interview today, a team they have not beaten yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can bring there. And then SSG is going to get their chance to maybe try and find their win one more time as they go up against Na'Vi. Times are tentative. 11 a.m. will be the start as always, but everything after that will happen when it happens.
Yeah, and I want to see that Envy Knights game. I think both teams
That's
are
gonna be a
kind of
good
in a
one.
really interesting place, and I want to see how creatively I want to see Simsaloo versus, the Envy Hive Mind draft. I want to see how that ends up going, at least in the pick ban phase.
Well, that's probably going to be one of the most fun ones tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see what SSG changed from today to tomorrow, but all of that, it's going to be happening tomorrow. Make sure you tune in here again, 11 a.m. since we have all three sets. But I've been Gormizer. That's been Kresnik. From everyone here at Skillshot, thank you for tuning in and watching. We'll see you all tomorrow.